Get someone who can adjust our clock. We are live. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And members of staff and members of the public that are joining us here tonight. Good evening. It is the Clearview Township Regular Council meeting for Monday, July the 28th, 2025. Council met at 4 o'clock for a brief in-camera session, and then we recessed, and we've now returned to the chambers for a 5:30 meeting. And so we'll get underway with that. One note is that Councillor Deneen is unable to join us tonight. She's away at a family event that kind of came up in a hurry for her. So we're wishing her all the best tonight. And so she is not here tonight, but we certainly have quorum, so we'll carry on with our meeting. At this time, I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Teotati, and the Wendat, and is the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as part of an intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask the Creator for guidance in all that we do. Of course, the land acknowledgement is always said at the beginning of our council meetings, our regular council meetings, and I always say this voluntarily. Thank you very much. Okay, Council, we're going to move directly to our next item on the agenda, which is the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated July 28, 2025 as presented. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Mr. Broderick, thank you. Any questions on tonight's agenda? One point I will add is one of our deputations is joining us virtually, so we'll have that online. Okay. Seeing nothing further, all those in favor? And it carries unanimous. Thank you. At this time, we'll look for declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof for tonight's meeting. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have declared a conflict in regards to the in-camera session.
Yes, that's right. And that was duly recorded with the clerk. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay, at this time, then we'll move to item number 4, which is our public participation period. The script reads as this: be advised that comments and views expressed under public participation period are not the views of the Township of Clearview Council or the administration. Each public participation is limited to 15 minutes. Each person is limited to 5 minutes. Questions and comments are to be directed to the mayor, and questions shall not refer to personnel matters, litigation, or potential litigation, or planning matters that have already had a public meeting or any item considered confidential. And for those members of the public not able to attend the meeting in person, written public participation can be provided through the township's portal, and written comments shall be received prior to noon on Friday before the regularly scheduled council meeting. And so at this time, I remind citizens to please share the time with your fellow citizens. I also would look to our deputy clerk. Krista, did we receive any electronic participations for tonight?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, there were 2 received and they've been provided to you this evening.
Thank you very much. So we do have 2 here in front of me. These are both from Mr. Witzka. We haven't heard from Mr. Witzka in some time, but nice to see he is participating once again. I'll read the first one that's on the list here. It says here, after reading the pickleball tennis court proposal, I'm wondering what the final cost will be. In 2024 budgeted, it was $75,000, which, using his terms, ballooned to $100,000 in 2025 budget. Is the $37,264 plus HST for site prep work included, or is this an extraneous cost after the fact? Also, was there a tender posted for this on the Clearview bidding site, or is it a sole source non-emergency tender as per section 19 of the non-emergency tender process? Okay, first of all, yes, we did put money aside, Mr. Witzka, for the pickleball and tennis court reactivation or work to be done. We've run into some technical problems with the initial site, and so the work that's being proposed is for a temporary site. Perhaps Mr. Vachon, you would care to comment on the on how this proposal came to be. Mr. Vachon?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. So the site that we're speaking about today is specifically in Stayner. As you know, I have 2 reports on the agenda this evening, both for pickleball courts potentially in Stayner and in Creemore. So I think Mr. Witzka's referencing the Stainer pickleball court. So yeah, so the site that was tentatively chosen to perhaps put tennis or pickleball courts at was part of an overall a request for quotations that we got for both fixing the site that's there now, as well as adding the pickleball and tennis courts. There was three quotes that were received, and on the agenda this evening are the recommendations to do that, at least do the site prep for that site.
Okay. And that site prep is within the parameters of our purchasing bylaw. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. Thank you very much. Thank you. The second letter, also from Mr. Witzka, it says, after seeing the winning bids for the Klondike Park Waterline Pump House posted for a combined $47,423.98,981 plus HST. I'm wondering how the financing plays out. Province kicked in 35 million. You borrowed 35 million from the county. Yet the figures in the 2025 budget show almost 100% being financed through DC charges. So why are 100% of Clearview taxpayers partially funding something that they'll never benefit from? How much are developers actually anteing up? And it seems we're covered by the first two. Where does the excess go? Some clarification. Mr. Witzka, 100% of Clearview taxpayers? You are 100% incorrect. Clearview taxpayers do not pay for water projects. Developers do, who are purchasing as part of DCs, and the grant from the province assists with that. And water users are the people that are responsible for that. I would like to turn to the treasurer to help me answer some of these little more detailed points that you bring up. Perhaps, Kelly, you'd be able to answer a couple of questions here in regards to the borrowed amount and what the excess goes to.
I thank your worship, through you to members of council and the public. The province's grant is 50% of the project up to 35 million. So it's not, if the project comes in at 60 million, the province is still kicking in 35. They would only kick in 30. So there are no excess funds. The loan funding we have arranged through the county is actually for 30 million, and it's a bridge loan. So that will only be used if we go through the provincial grant money first, and we need a bridge financing until the development charges roll in. But you're correct. Clearview taxpayers do not foot any of this bill. It all goes through development charges.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It's interesting that this information is available on the winning bids page. The what is it called? Clearview dot bids and something. Yeah. So that page, which is not operated by the township, we're a member of that, and so that information is available on there through the details of the actual RFPs that were put out. So, all right. Thank you very much for those two public participations. Now I look to the floor here in the council chambers. Is there anyone who wishes to come forward and ask any questions at the microphone? Please come forward. State your name and let's hear what you have to say. Fine looking green shirt you got there, sir, by the way. I'm going to get that microphone working.
All right.
I can hear you great. Go ahead.
Good evening, your worship, council and staff. My name is Mike Schmidt. I've been a Clearview resident for over 30 years and the last 10 years in Creemore. Tonight, I'm accompanied by several pickleball players from Creemore. They're dressed in green, obviously. There are approximately 50 to 60 players in Creemore that play from September to May, either in the Creemore Arena Hall or the Creemore Public School Gym. For the last 15 months, I've been meeting with Terry Banshaw and Councillor MacArthur on a concept to have outdoor pickleball courts in Creemore. If I may, I would like to share a few details for two recreation outdoor pickleball courts. First, the ideal location would be beside and west of the existing skateboard park or pad. The concrete pad that we require is 60 by 64 feet, provides ample space for two courts. For safety concerns, the concrete surface must be etched to provide a non-slip surface. One of the techniques for this is called brooming, which is what we use on our residential sidewalks. The entire surface would be finished with a green coating and the non-volley areas coated in blue. These choices of colors would match the Clearview Township logo colors. White court lines and 2 removable pickleball nets complete the course. The entire structure would be surrounded by a 10 to 12-foot high black chain link fence. And last but not least, we would request that these courts are open and free to the public. We would like to thank you, your worship, council, and staff for your continued support for sports and recreation in our community, and trust the same holds true for pickleball. Thank you. Okay.
And my microphone was off too, but nevertheless, thanks, sir. But it's great to have you here. Thanks for your comments and input. I know that Terry and his staff are working very diligently to bring forward some plans and some updates on certainly pickleball across this community. As you heard in a previous question, there's a project that's sort of in the pending state right now here in Stayner. And I know in years past, there was some pickleball actually being played in the parking lot at Duntroon Hall. So, you know, pickleball is an interesting growing sport, isn't it? And I can tell you myself and Councillor Walker, we've been on this council long enough to know that our previous recreation plans didn't even mention pickleball, but now they do. So it's interesting to see that it's certainly growing. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Are there other members of our audience here tonight who wish to come forward with a question? Any questions or comments for public participation period? Nobody else? All right. Well, thank you very much. That was public participation period. We can close that section of our meeting, and thanks for your comments. We're going to go to our delegation presentations now, Council. We do have delegations, as I mentioned. The first one is our 5.1, the Collingwood Cycling Club. And it's about an introduction and road safety. Denise is here, Denise Bellman and Dave Farrell. Okay, please come forward to the microphone and we can get underway with your presentation as part of delegations here tonight.
Right. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff members for having us. We really appreciate you taking some time for us tonight. My name's David Farrell. I'm the Vice President of the Collingwood Cycling Club. I'm joined by Denise Bellman, who's also on our board of directors, and Denise is responsible for the club's advocacy efforts. So if we could flip to the next slide, please. Thank you. So really coming here tonight, we really had 4 major objectives. First one is really a little bit of an introduction to the club. I don't think with the club we've done a good enough job of interacting with the community and helping to work and understanding issues relating to cycling. So this is kind of one of our strategic efforts to do so. Secondly, we just wanted to raise some awareness of some road safety issues and challenges that we've been having of late. And so we just wanted to kind of bring that to the attention of the group here. The third really objective is really to offer ourselves as a resource to the township. Certainly we know in your tourism plan, the December 22 plan, cycling was mentioned as a strategic initiative. And things such as developing a library of routes, working with the public, putting on signature events. Well, our members ride these roads in Clearview literally every day of the week. And so we would like to really offer ourselves as a resource to the township to help support with these initiatives. And lastly, really the last objective is really to kind of build some stronger community relationships. As I said, we're just starting to do more of an outreach effort. I think we as a club, we need to do more of that. So those are really the 4 main reasons for coming before council. So next slide, please. So just a quick introduction to the Collingwood Cycling Club. Our club represents around just over 400 members, founded in 1981. And we're not just a road riding club, we also have a lot of gravel rides. And as you know, there's a lot of gravel riding, especially in the township here. And we're certainly very excited with the whole Barrie Collingwood Railway Trail initiative as well. And you know, I know our members are going to be all over that one for sure. And we, you know, we're the largest, probably one of the largest clubs in the area, and we ride extensively in the township. So that was just kind of a little bit about the club. So if we could just flip into the next slide, please. So, you know, one of the main reasons for coming here was talking about road safety and some things that have been kind of going on this year. You know, certainly, a lack of road shoulders is a big issue for the club. You know, our policy is we try to have our members always riding as tightly as possible to the right side of the road, you know, to keep away from cars. But without a shoulder, it does create some safety concerns. And we realize in some of the country roads here, it's not always possible, but we just certainly want to kind of get that on everyone's thought process. The road conditions this year, I don't know if it was a tougher winter or not, but you know, it's been kind of one of the tougher years in terms of road conditions, in terms of potholes, cracks, et cetera. And I know the various towns and townships in the region are certainly conducting their best efforts, but it is tough when we're cycling. And I kind of think of the 33, 34 just north of the airport. You know, if you kind of see our club, sometimes it looks like we're cycling like a bunch of drunken sailors, but we're really not. We're just trying to dodge some of the potholes in the area. So, and again, I know it's being addressed, but again, we just want to, again, bring this up as an issue. This year, for whatever reason, don't know why, but there's been a lot of aggressive drivers on the road this year and creating some very legitimate safety concerns. And we've had a number of incidents, you know, of cars cutting off our groups, you know, doing different things like that. And, you know, part of it is reaching out to the community, working on some education efforts. And that's something that we're certainly looking to engage with council on, and how to get some education out to both cyclists and non-cyclists alike. You know, another challenge is really there's been a mixed understanding of the Highway Traffic Act as it relates to cycling. And that's not just from motorists, it's from, I think, cyclists as well. There's a lot of misconceptions about should we be riding single files and twos and whatever. And I know I only have 10 minutes tonight, so I really can't get into the details of that. But nonetheless, it is certainly a bit of a cause. And signage. Signage is always an issue. More signage is always better in our opinion. So if we could flip to the next slide, please. So really what we're asking tonight is for council to consider continued investments in bike infrastructure, you know, from trails to signage to shoulders to fixing potholes, all those types of issues. We're also looking for some guidance on how best to address some of these road hazards. I know a number of our members said, well, why don't we all just kind of put in complaints to the township? Well, I don't think you'd want 400 odd emails coming in all the time. So again, just looking for a little bit of guidance on when we see all these things, like what's the best course of action for the club to do. Really just want to, I guess, get cycling to make sure, or to try to get it on the top of minds as you're looking at kind of long-term plans for roads. I realize these plans don't happen overnight. It has to go through proper budgeting procedures, but again, we just want you to please consider the impact of cycling and how it also relates to some of your tourism plans. And also just some feedback from the township on, you know, we want to be good guests in the community. There's been some, you know, in the past, there has been some mixed publicity in terms of the cyclists on the road. And we'd like some feedback on what we can do to be better guests in your community. So just getting to the next slide, please. So we've asked some things, but we've also thinking that we certainly can help as a club. You know, we talked about your tourism plans. We think we would see ourselves as a great resource for some of those plans, helping to promote new events. You know, you have your one signature event, the Creemore, the Tourist Moor, which is a fantastic event. Perhaps there's some other ones, and we certainly would love to engage with the township to help perhaps put some of these new events together to support some of your plans. Your plans also mentioned education programs for both cyclists and residents. Again, we see ourselves as a resource willing to help with that. Hosting bike safety workshops, partnering with local police. You know, we are starting some interactions with the OPP on that, talking about road safety. So those are just some ways that we think that it's not just saying, you know, we want this, we want this. We're really looking at this as starting to develop a longer term partnership. And certainly there's things that we would like as a club, but we also feel there's some things as a club that we can offer as well to the township. So we just wanted to kind of present that out there as consideration. So really just flipping the slide, I just wanted to kind of stay within my minutes. Just wanted to kind of thank council for allowing us the opportunity to present. And really, I think our goals are the same. We just want a safer, more bike-friendly township. And again, to steal words from your own strategic plan, we just wanted to help position Clearview as a signature cycling destination. And again, apologize for stealing that right directly from your plan, but I think it's very appropriate. So that concludes the formal part of my presentation. And again, just Denise and I just wanted to kind of thank everyone for allowing us to present.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. Good information and a nice simple presentation with some simple asks and recommendations, so we appreciate that. Perhaps if there's any members of our council who have any questions, we could go to that. I see the deputy mayor or something. Marty, you want to jump in next? Okay, go ahead. Paul, you're up first.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the presentation because it does open a lot of questions up in both from our side, your side. And I'm going to ask a couple and then I'll let Marty take a couple and I got a couple more to throw back at and some suggestions. First question, how many Clearview taxpayers are members of your club?
I do not know the answer to that. I know our club is widely, we have members right from Wasaga, Collingwood, Blue
Right.
Mountains. to
Can you
Clear-
find-
So I don't, I don't know the specific
Right.
answer to that.
Okay, can you find out for us how many are taxpayers?
Okay.
Because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
always very important in the discussion. We're dealing with this with with hockey and stuff like that. It's always important that we know who we represent. Okay.
No, I think that's a great question. I will check on that and we'll do our best to try to get that answer for you,
Okay.
but thank you.
The next question was in regards, you opened up about understanding provincial policy. What is the policy of the province on bike riding side by side?
So essentially that's governed by the Highway Traffic Act. So riding side by side it was specifically in twos, that's really what we're talking about is, so that is, the Highway Traffic Act is silent on that, specifically on that topic, but we have had numerous engagements with the OPP and the interpretation of that. And the interpretation is that we are legally allowed to ride side by side in twos, provided we are not creating an obstruction to traffic. So our club's policy is on certain busy areas, 10 concession, et cetera, we mandated members to be riding in single file because of that, because we don't want to be obstructing traffic. If you're on a quieter country road, riding in twos is more than acceptable. And just the other reason, just from a safety perspective, is if we're riding in twos, so say we typically ride in perhaps 10 or 12 riders together. If you're riding in twos, it's easier for a car to pass than if we had 10 or 12 people stretched out in a straight line. And I guess the analogy I would use, it'd be no different than if we were passing a tractor on one of the roads. Is riding in twos is safer. The other thing we've experienced from a safety perspective is when we are riding single, drivers at times will try to what we call threading the needle. So they'll try to stay on their side of the yellow line. Meanwhile, you've got the riders in the single file. But keep in mind, the law is that 1 meter distance is also required between a cyclist and a vehicle. And the 1 meter is also in the Highway Traffic Act. So
Right.
it's virtually impossible to kind of have a single file of riders, a car stay in the yellow line and be within a meter. And that also creates a safety hazard. So I guess, again,
I was going to say, there's some of the stuff you're telling me is an interpretation and some of it is in the law, like the 1 meter is in the law, but riding side by side. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, there's hardly a weekend goes by that we don't get complaints about bikes on the road. And so your comments are very much welcomed, that as long as we're working together to educate people on the proper standards, it's very hard. Our Fairgrounds Road, I had a complaint on the weekend about it again, and it's like, it's not a safe road at the best of times, so.
Yeah. Well, and again, and thank you for your question. And again, that's one of the reasons we're here tonight is, we're aware of there have been complaints, but then we've also made, as cyclists, a number of complaints to OPP about drivers cutting us off, doing various things as well. And ultimately it comes down to your point of education, working with everyone, holding safety events. And we've got to figure this out together. And
Right.
again, that's one of the reasons we're here tonight, is to start some dialogue and work with our various partners and kind of try to find some answers.
I'll turn it over back to the mayor so that some other people have a chance, but I have some more questions to visit at a later time.
Great. Stand by.
Thank you, Your Worship. But yeah, I'm concerned too about, maybe sharing the road better. I have a comment first, then a suggestion. The comment I have is I fish in Meaford quite a bit and I take Gray Road 19, which has paved shoulders. And I remember someone from Clearview trying to talk me into making paved shoulders in our township, which costs millions of dollars. We passed 34 bicycles that day. Not one was riding on the paved shoulder. So I said, there must be something inherently dangerous about these paved shoulders. Now, since then, I've seen some ride in, some don't. I'm sitting there, why are we spending millions of dollars for paved shoulders people don't want to ride in? So that's my comment. My suggestion is to be safer. There's two sides to that coin. You get a lot of complaints about people. Your presentation even shows it, 12 people in a group. Would it not be safer to travel in smaller groups? For example, maybe 4. It would still be easier to pass. If one bicycle falls, you don't have everybody behind you falling. I've met groups of 50, even 80 bicycles in a pack. There's no way you can pass them. So you're making drivers upset for no reason. If they were in smaller groups, 4 or 6, you could pass one section, then another, just like a tractor, he said. So that would make it safer. We have complaints about people watching bicycles. They want to drink, so they're blocking an intersection. You got 50 bikes at an intersection. Why? Why not pull off the road, At intersections, we've had bicycles. One bicycle goes through the stop sign. They all do. Why don't they have to follow the rules of the road? So my suggestion is, yeah, we can educate drivers, but you need to educate cyclists too, I think.
Yeah, no, so, I'm sorry.
I'm done.
No,
Thanks.
so I said, no, so I agree. I think education is a two-way street. It's not just drivers, it is cyclists. So I agree 100% with your comment. As far as group sizes, our club's policy is we have mandated, 10 to 12 is a maximum. Now the other, so your point is a smaller better? Yes. But the other thing is that we also operate within the Ontario Cycling Association guidelines. Part of it is each group has to have a ride leader for insurance purposes. The ride leader is responsible for the safety of the group. So obviously smaller groups means more ride leaders and it's more drafting, more volunteers. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think your suggestion is very valid. And we'll certainly take that under consideration. It just creates another, just a challenge for ourselves, not insurmountable. And we are continuing trying to educate our members. Now, we can't control other groups coming up here from the city. That's out of our control. But certainly with our group, we're again, the largest group in the community. We're doing a lot of member education. We train our ride leaders, we train our members, we have policies, we review the policies, and we're constantly at it. Are we perfect? No. Is there room for improvement? Definitely. And again, but ultimately, your point, it's education, both drivers and non-drivers. It's everybody, I think, to make things truly safer in the community.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to Mr. Walker next. Then I see Mr. Broderick like to speak, and then I'll come back.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. You talked about aggressive drivers. Well, good luck with that one, because I don't know what the world has created, but right now we have aggressive drivers everywhere and every vehicle on the road. And I don't know how we educate and get people to wake up to that style of me, unfortunately. Now, I was going to ask you, what would your club think about designated roads only? I'm just throwing that out as a thought, like township was to designate certain roads for cyclists only and other roads not. So, because there might be some that we might be able to accommodate shoulders, and there's others that we certainly will not be able to accommodate shoulders. So I'm just throwing that out as a thought process to think about. That might be a possible solution at some point in time. But yeah. So that's just the comments I have.
I think as a suggestion, I think that's worth consideration. I hadn't quite honestly thought about that. But certainly, you know, for example, we don't allow any of our members to ride on 26 for obvious reasons, and maybe that's kind of extreme. But you know, there's certainly roads that we could, you know, certainly say, look, let's try to prioritize these roads and not these roads. Now, can we prevent someone, you know, not from, I doubt it, but if we can kind of say as a club, because we have we have a route library, we have all of our routes published, you know, we can, you know, have our routes to focus on, call it the bike friendly or prior. So I think it's a valid suggestion and it's certainly worth considering.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. We'll go to Mr. Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for the presentation. It's been very informative. Just a thought. I've belonged to a lot of motorcycle clubs over the years, and most of them have developed signals for riding in groups. I'm just wondering if the Collingwood Bicycle Club does that. For example, if they're coming up upon a pedestrian on the roadway or a bicyclist, there's the lead. They always ride with a lead and a sweep. The lead will actually signal back to go to single file. And then once they've passed whatever it is on the roadway, then they'll go back to this, which is a staggered formation.
Okay. Yeah.
It confuses some
It's
people.
motorcycles. Relax.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little confused. So.
Yeah, it
So-
does, but that's what it means.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if the club does anything like that.
So actually, it's a great question. And actually, yes, we actively do that. So you may not see it, but when we're
Yeah.
riding, we'll have hand signals. If there's, we see a pedestrian in front, well, I'll kind of wave behind I'll kind of wave behind to kind of tell people to go around. The leader, whoever's leading the group, will put, single finger up to go single file.
Yep.
If we're coming up to a stop sign, we'll put our hand out. So we do actually have our own system of hand signals. And we also have, if it's something seriously, then we'll yell, you know, if there's a huge pothole. Now, that doesn't always work as well, but if something's coming up, you'll hear a lot of screaming. You see a pack of cyclists start singing like whole, you know, we'll do that as well too.
In the motorcycle world, that's done with the foot. You point the foot towards the
Yeah.
pothole.
We're different kinds of bikers, so
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with your world, so.
Just a suggestion.
But no, I think it's a good point, so, but thank you for raising that.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. One question I have, I'll leave to the end, builds on what Marty Beelan had to say. Have you talked to the county at all?
Not yet, no.
Okay, and I'll tell you why. We went through this process as a county councillor. They were just doing some improvements to County Road 9 outside of Creemore, and they've designated some of these roads in their transportation master plan, whatever, as cyclist roads. Now, we've been shown the cost of putting shouldering on a road that's being improved, and if I say correctly, was $800,000 per mile, something like that, to improve. So the county is also looking at roads in the future. Make a presentation to them as well, so that roads within Clearview Township, they would fund as far as creating that safety lane. Like on a road like County Road 9, it's a well-traveled road, and they just did a little bit of improvement right in Creemore, and they're going to be doing more towards Dunedin.
Yes,
But they did
I'm
not.
quite thankful for that, yes.
Right. We approached them actually when they were doing the Riverside Drive. I went to them and said, listen, would you kick in some money and we could make some bike roads? And I was basically looked like I had two heads and some bike lanes. And it is a very challenging road to work on Riverside Drive. But we were making efforts to try and talk to the county to see if there's money. And that leads me to my next question. Does your club have money to contribute to improvements if we can make them happen?
Not a lot, not a lot. Now, we are a not-for-profit organization. you know, our membership fees are, you know, probably around $100. So of that, about $35 goes to the Ontario Cycling Insurance for our members. And the balance goes into the club funds to play for things like jerseys, et cetera. So we do make some community donations of a small amount, but
Maybe
we
we
don't
could,
have a big, we're
no,
not a
but
big
maybe we
budget.
should, when you're looking at your budgeting next year, look at asking your members about putting money towards what we can do as a joint effort, as far as more signage, you know, to
Oh,
improve,
sure.
you know, I'm not asking to pave the roads, I'm asking for, to improve the betterment of within the community.
Yeah.
And the last question, and you hit on it again about buying these uniforms. I think it's a great idea. I love it when I see the Collingwood uniforms. The comment is it will separate the wheat from the chaff if we know who the Collingwood riders are. And whereas you've thrown some of the blame back towards riders who come out of the city who are non-members or anything like that. We can't control that, obviously, but definitely encourage it. And the other suggestion is if you have a leader in the pack, put a system together. Somebody wears an armband to say, hey, we're the leader, we can, that is directing, so that you know who is, like, it's like any hockey team, any that has a C or an A, we know who the captains are or whatever. So just little suggestions, that's all.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think those are all really good suggestions. And I said, this is because of just a lot of issues seem to be coming up. And this is, you know, one of Denise's mandates is we really are trying to focus on that. So certainly approaching the county and other towns and townships as well. So, you know, we're just kind of at the beginning of this, and I can just, judging from the amount of questions, sounds like it's long overdue. And I said all the questions tonight have really been excellent.
Good, thank you, Your Worship.
Excellent. I've got a couple of quick comments for you, and I don't want to delay this any further for you guys. You're doing a great job so far. In your points you brought up, you said lack of shoulders, and then you said poor road conditions. I want you to be understanding clearly that we don't build our roads for one user. We build our roads for all users. Okay? Our roads are built in the rural community for all users, whether they be tractors, whether they be bicycles, whether they be cars, trucks, wagons, horses. In fact, we've had airplanes on our roads. So, you know, we do use our roads for all kinds of things. So they're not built specifically for one user. They're built for everything. As far as poor road conditions, we did have a pretty significant year with potholes. But to be fair, pothole season is pretty well known. If you drive your car, which I assume you probably have a car and a bicycle, you know that potholes are a part of reality.
Yeah.
Dodging them in your car, sometimes you can get around it. Dodging them in your bicycle, I can appreciate there would be sharp jumps, and can probably cause you more damage because wheelbase and everything else. You have to be careful. If you, Rick, have any issues with any of our road conditions, I encourage you to contact the Public Works Department. You can use our phone number, and extension 301 connects you directly to the Public Works Department. You can file a notice of a flaw or an error or something like that, and we can have a look at that. And our Public Works staff, who patrol our roads all winter long, day and night, they will look at it in the summer, in the spring and summer. Dan, when do they generally stop doing the 24-hour patrol? When is that? I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Your Worship, our winter patrol is typically from November until March.
March. So end of March is when they stop 24 hours on the road. There are periods of time when there are no patrollers on the road looking for any type of hazards. The point is that if you've happened to find something, just please call it in. Our Public Works staff will address these type of things, obviously, because they're going to impact all riders, all users of the roads. And the other thing I want to point out is your feedback about being a good guest. I know you probably weren't involved with this, but I'm just going to put it back out there so everybody knows. The Centurion races caused us enormous grief. And I'm sorry to tell you, cycling has not recovered in our community because of it. The Centurion race polluted our sides of our roads. There was drinking boxes and plastic bottles everywhere. There was people standing on the side of the road, having their way with their bodily functions on the side of the road and then getting back on and driving off. And that weekend when it was held, it was the fall during a harvest season. We had all kinds of tractors on the road. I was the counselor for Ward 1 at that time, and believe me, the Centurion ride went through there, and I have never, I know our community hasn't recovered. There's just an unfortunate attitude, no problems between drivers and cyclists. So let's just try to, everybody calm down and find our way through this and create, the share the road feature for all of us, and let's respect each other as drivers. So the specific question I have for you then, are you aware of your cyclists or any of your tours of any bicycle vehicle incidences that have happened?
Um, yeah, I'm aware of incidences in terms of with cars and.
Yeah, have they actually collided with each other?
Um, that they collide. We've had, we're aware, we're starting to keep our own database now of incidents. So I know this year there's been a lot of very close calls.
Sure.
But as a specific incident of someone going to a hospital as a result of a car, no, there's been a couple of people who have kind of fallen gotten in the gravel and they've kind of fallen and hurt themselves, not a result of a car. But we are starting to keep a database of this right now. But there's certainly been a number of close calls this year. So I guess the answer is yes.
Okay. All right. Please be careful. Let's hope that they're not tragic. I can tell you, just as an anecdotal story, I know somebody, she won't like me saying this, although she probably won't see this. She's an older lady, and she backed out of her driveway. And when she put her car in drive, she drove forward and immediately smashed into a guy who was coming across the street. And you know what happened? The guy recovered finally on his bicycle, but she's never recovered. She's never recovered as a driver. She was so emotionally distraught by that whole incident that she now carries those scars, emotional scars, the rest of her life, hitting somebody on a bike. All right. Clearly, the cyclist was in the wrong because they darted out. It was just a terrible accident. But the person who was in the car is now emotionally scarred for life. So I'm just letting you know that it's it does go both ways. I know you guys want to have a safe, fun exercise and enjoy our beautiful township. I absolutely get it. But let's please be careful, because regardless of all the things we do, put up signs and change this, change that, a car, truck, tractor versus a bicycle, you're going to lose.
Yeah, every time.
So let's just keep that all in mind, right?
No, and I think those words are I think are well appreciated. And again, just to
Yeah.
reiterate, it's a two-way street. It's a shared
100%,
responsibility. It's
100%.
100% a shared responsibility. And there's some dumb drivers, but there's some dumb cyclists too. So and we've all got to do better.
Yep, I know. Now, on a more positive note, you asked about some events and things. I would strongly recommend, although there's still a few left, you could attend one of our markets. Music Market and Parket always has a vendor space. I'm confident that our recreation department would provide you with a tent so you wouldn't have to carry it on the back of your bike. I'm sure we could have a tent for you, and you could perhaps set up a little booth and do some education and talking to
Okay.
the public about that. And I'm sure you'd be welcome at our events. I would suggest that perhaps you have a similar delegation like you're doing here today with the Ontario Federation of Agriculture or the Simcoe County Federation of Agriculture. Paul's actually a member on that, so we can help set that up for you. And the last thing is perhaps you could meet with members of our Chamber of Commerce who are the business community, who could perhaps comment on and help understand some of the things that you're doing. I know that the BIA in Creemore, which is one of your primary destinations, I know that for 100% fact. The cyclists do come into the downtown core of Creemore and certainly contribute to the economy of the community down there. And I would encourage them to please be careful. We've just recently, had some presentations about Creemore, and we've got a group here from Creemore. And there's a group trying to do a study right now on the downtown core of Creemore. There's a possibility that we may be making our roads narrower yet again in Creemore, which would expand our sidewalks, which would then make cycling and trucks and cars and everything else a little more challenging yet again. So just letting you know, you should maybe take and pay attention to that when the BIA brings forward their recommendation through this committee work that's going on. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I know you enjoy the coffee down there. We all do. It's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, but no, that's our, one of our favorite coffee stops well, there's a few places down in Creemore and we're down there a lot, so.
100%, 100%. Safe riding.
Yep.
It's interesting that the question was asked about the number of people who are from Clearview Township. And so I'd love to see the Clearview Cycling Club, much as I'd like to also see the Clearview Pickleball Club for your pickleballers. So there you go. But anyway, that's just me. I'm the mayor of this beautiful township, and so I'm always going to promote Clearview. Nice to have you here tonight, unless you have any other questions or comments you want to bring forward.
No, I just wanted to again thank yourself and members of council for giving us the opportunity to come here tonight.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Yeah, nice
Okay.
to see you all.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening. Thank you for joining us. All right, members of council, we do have another delegation. This is the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan. Carrie is on board. Carrie's just about to turn on her microphone, I think. There she is. Hi.
Good evening.
Hi
Thank
there.
you.
How are you?
I'm fantastic, and I appreciate you accommodating me in this presentation tonight.
Yeah, great. Have you
So,
been watching our meeting as well?
I have. I've been sitting through about 4.5 hours of council meetings today. So as soon as I'm done here, I have to jump back onto Collingwood because they didn't quite make it through the agenda to my point, to my presentation. So as soon as I'm done, I'm going to pop back onto theirs and I will present to them as well.
Not a problem. Once again, we're proving that we're much more efficient than our neighbors. You carry on.
This is recorded. I'm saying nothing. So thank you to Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council for having me here tonight to present the update on your refresh community safety and well-being plan. My name is Carrie Warner from Avail Consulting, and I have had the great pleasure of working across your community and the other communities involved in the plan for actually the past 4 years. The original development of the plan through supporting implementation, and then the refresh of the plan. So I have grown with this legislation, and I do create these plans across various municipalities in Ontario. But I've been closer because I'm from Barrie, so I'm pretty close, but it's closely connected to these plans. So I want to thank in advance the person who's going to advance my slides because I'll ask for that now. So tonight, this is a 10-minute presentation, 10 slides. For the next few minutes, we're going to look at kind of why we're doing this planning, the importance and rationale behind the planning, how the plan was informed, the focused areas of risk, what will be actioned, so those actual strategies that appear in the plan, how it'll be actioned, and that's critical because we've learned a ton since the development of the first plan. And when I say we, I think collectively across the province, there was lots of beautiful plans produced. Really, really hard to mobilize the strategies. So we certainly applied what we learned in the refresh of the plan, and I'll be able to point that out as I go through these slides. And then some proposed next steps. So next slide, please. So why are we doing this? Well, we know that there's a provincial mandate, a legislative requirement to develop, adopt, and implement these community safety and well-being plans under the Community Safety and Policing Act. But equally as important to that is we know that it goes beyond the legislation. When you look at the plans and you look at the strategies in the plans, we are dealing with very, very complex social conditions that interface across a number of sectors. And so that makes them pretty sticky and challenging. And so, these plans might be a 4-year plan, but we know that, the runway to some of, the impact is quite long, but we have to start somewhere. We also know that there's great work that's already existing in community. And so community safety and well-being really tries to pull that together. And so the province in the legislation has tagged this to municipalities to be responsible for the preparation and the adoption of these plans, but recognizing that municipalities, when you look at these plans and you look at the strategies, you think, well, what is my role in this? And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of slides as well. And then once you publish the plan, every 4 years, you're asked to review and revise your plan. And I can tell you there's a kind of a great community safety and well-being plan reset happening right now across the province because the plans that we all developed were, fantastic plans, but recognizing the challenges of operationalizing the strategies certainly has given some pause and some reflection on how to, kind of create more actionable plans. And so that's what I want to, share with you tonight. And then the monitoring and evaluation piece. And so that again, you might think, well, how do we do that? And so that is built and baked right into the plan that you have in front of you. And the province has kind of set some of the stage for what they expect in these plans. While they don't tell you exactly what strategies to put in your plan, because that's really dependent on your partners and your, community need and capacity, and lots of different factors, they do ask you to look across 4 domains. And that's the bullseye that you see there on the screen. They ask you to think about crisis response. So that's kind of, where emergency services live, police, fire, ambulance, in that kind of crisis moment response. And then intervention. So just outside of that elevated risk, but still kind of higher acuity. Then we get into prevention, and we know that our friends in public health, they kind of live in that space. And then social development, and you have to ask, well, what is social development? And so it's really about, planning and policy and built environment and getting upstream. So changing the trajectory of some of these complex challenges that people are faced with. So we'll move to the next slide, please. So how this plan was informed really kind of was in 3 different phases. So you have your documentation and your data review, and that's kind of the first step, and then the consultation and engagement portion, and then the strategy setting. So in the documentation and data review, we did look at the original data that was used to inform these plans. We know that a pandemic kind of happened, shortly, thereafter. And so we certainly saw some of the data, some of those data points are exacerbated when you look at mental health and addictions. Some things in the data looked like that they were marginally better in the StatsCan data, some of it like income, but we know that a lot of people, there's some anomalies and there's some analysis and some commentary that could go with that around why we might have seen a little bit of an increase, a blip. That looks like it might have improved for people, but we know that people are still struggling. So we had to kind of take all of that into consideration. And then we looked at mandates and various groups like Ontario Health Teams and mental health groups and collaborative tables, and looked at their planning that they're doing and the mandates that they're working with to see where those points of alignment are. And then we looked at engaging key providers across community, people who are delivering services in your community around these areas of risk. We moved into resident engagement, and I want to qualify that, I think we can all recognize that online service. Sorry, I think I might have just muted myself.
I think your microphone went dead there for a minute.
Yeah, that was strange. That was strange. So we recognize that online surveys do not capture the entire population. And when you look at the population that typically responds to surveys, it is a bit of a certain demographic. And so while it is a start for us, it is certainly not a finish for us. And so through implementation and the development of these strategies, there will be opportunity to engage residents in a more kind of focused, connected way. And we also did a provider survey. So in addition to the providers that have been identified, we also held a 3-hour planning session where we invited a number of providers to interact in an interactive. Sorry, if I cut out, I apologize. I'm in Barrie, but I'm getting notices that my internet might not be stable. To engage providers in an interactive 3-hour planning session to really hone in on what can we do. There's lots of things we want to do. And I think that's the risk with this type of planning is that everything seems to be on the A list and nothing seems to be on the B list, because these are all very, very complex and very important things that we need to address. And I think that was the slippery slope that many municipalities and consultants found themselves in the first go round, is that in these plans, there was lots of well-intentioned ideas and things that needed to be done, but without that dedicated, lead agency, the capacity, the resourcing, and a clear path to measuring, it just didn't kind of see the light of day, some of the strategies. And so using that 3 hours, that provider session, and also the in-person countywide provider strategy setting session, we really, really were pretty tight on what gets into the plan. And so if you don't see something in the plan, it doesn't mean that it's not important, and it doesn't mean that it won't happen. It just means it's not something that we, community safety and well-being, are going to be actively measuring, and it may happen concurrently, and it might complement some of our strategies, and that's fantastic. So we just don't want people to look at the plan and think that there's something critical missing and that it will just have to wait 4 years, because that's certainly not the case. Next slide, please. So the focused area of risk in the plan remains the same: housing and homelessness, mental health and addiction, and access to services and supports. Next slide. So we're going to take a few moments on this page here. I'm going to ask you to look to the right of the slide, and you can see that there's some key priorities. So there's the 3 areas of risk: the housing, homelessness, mental health and addiction, access to service. You also see data. So while data is not an area of risk, it is a key priority for us, because we have to be able to measure the impact to know if we're moving the needle or not. So in the plan, there is a mix of countywide strategies, which means that it's a common strategy that appears in each of the plans that have been refreshed across Simcoe County, and there are 6. There are the 5 that I supported originally, and then Barrie. So in total, there are 6. And there are those strategies that, like I say, are countywide, but how they play out and how they are delivered and what that looks like is going to be very specific to the sub-region. So how the strengthening pathways out of homelessness strategy plays out in Clearview or across South Georgian Bay may be very different than how it rolls out in Barrie or Couchiching area. So while it might be common strategy, the delivery and the application will be specific to the community. So in this plan, we have a strategy around strengthening pathways out of homelessness, and that's really focusing on prevention supports and reduction strategies. So trying to address the homelessness that we know exists and the housing precarity. And then it's also how do we get upstream from that so that we have less people tipping into that fragility and potentially ultimately homelessness, because it's not just homelessness that we're looking at. It's, some of the things I heard, even earlier in the council talking about housing and opportunities. And so that is a common strategy. The next is the mental health and addiction strategy around transitional age youth. So I think it's probably not a secret that youth are really struggling, and they were struggling pre-COVID, and they're really struggling post-COVID. And I can say, working across different communities with different populations, there are communities that are larger populations and their youth are struggling. There are kids who are in rural communities, and those youth are struggling as well. Their needs may be a little different, their situation slightly different, but this strategy is really, it's a very interesting one. It's focusing on youth age 12 to 25, so that's the definition of kind of transitional age youth, so youth going through those transition points. And it's uniting providers that serve this population to better identify and reduce gaps in service. We know that sometimes when you've been, you're a child and then you turn 18, all of a sudden, you are an adult and you're in adult services, and there is that kind of big gap, and there isn't always smooth transition points. And again, when you leave school and you're in your early 20s, sometimes you just fall off the radar. If you're not going on to post-secondary education, you're not in employment, where are you? So it's trying to kind of get a better sense of where those opportunities are to connect with youth, to help them move through and transition in a smooth and helpful, healthy way. The next strategy is around the data strategy. So that's a data approach. And this is really, it's going to facilitate the collection, analysis, and sharing of aggregate data. So nothing identifiable with those involved in community safety, wellbeing planning, reporting, and oversight. So this will be very interesting in like 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 3 years' time, coming back. And in the annual report that council will receive, to have that broken down. And we're going to try and break it down granular for each community so they can kind of see where you fit into the sub-region and then the county as a whole. Strategy is a hyper-local strategy. So that means like a more place-based strategy. While they all have local applications to be and developed with the specific communities in mind, this is something that does not appear in the other plans. And I think there's a similar version of it in 2 other plans, but not in all of them. And this is a partnership, and it really is between the OPP and Collingwood or Community Connections, which is the organization that delivers on the 3-digit dialing code of 211. I'm sure you're familiar with 211, but this is really trying to serve to support individuals before their situation escalates by offering to connect them to navigators that are skilled in information and referral. So when police encounter someone who might be in distress in community at one of their calls, it might not be a chargeable offense, and this is where a lot of this work and this mandate around community safety and well-being comes from, is that police respond to a ton of calls that do not result in chargeable offenses. It might be social disorder or people just really in distress. And so they will try to refer them to local services. They might give them a phone number, but sometimes if that person's in distress, getting a phone number or getting a card, they might not make that call. And the next morning when things have kind of died down and blown over, they might feel like they're okay and they don't need to make that call until the next crisis. So this is trying to be kind of proactive and to actually in that moment when they are at that call, get that person's consent to make a referral to Community Connections /211 so that the referral will go in with just the basic need of that person, like what the kind of the initial call type is for, and not invasive, not a lot of information. They don't even have to give their name. They could just give their phone number or an email address, and a 211 navigator will reach back out to that person and really kind of unpack how they might need to be supported. Because often when they get a call that goes into 211 for one reason, through the work and the conversations with the navigators, they unpack a ton of other stuff that person might be struggling with. And that's kind of those interconnected needs that we really see as a theme across these plans. And so that will be very interesting to see the impact and the data that comes from that. And that can be really useful for local planning and for other providers who might be the providers that get the referrals from the 211 call once 211 figures out what that person needs and then refers them on to service. We'll move to the next slide. So how this plan will be actioned, now that we have, dedicated, identifiable, clear strategies of lead agencies, it's the expectation that these lead agencies will be the ones to coordinate the activity, track the progress, and report to the designated committee. So that is the GMCC, or the Geographical Municipal Coordinating Committee. And really that is made up of a representative from each of the municipalities. And in some cases, the fire department is on, and we're always open to other appropriate leaders that would make sense to be on that governance group. And very recently, we've expanded that to have a member of the detachment board, which I know you're familiar with, to sit on that committee because it will tighten up the expectations and the responsibilities related to the legislation around community safety and well-being, and really kind of bring together the conversation and the strategies so that we're not pulling partner agencies in different directions and that we're kind of all rowing in one direction. And at the end of the first year, we would expect that, these strategies would have started. We've got the roles clarified. They would have identified some performance indicators that they're going to be measuring over the course of the 4 years of the plan. We will have set that baseline data and the data sharing methods, and then they will have, started their activities towards their goals and objectives. And it's anticipated that council will receive a report on the progress of your community safety and well-being plan at a minimum annually. And so I expect that will probably come in like May, June to hit one of the meetings, in May or June. Next slide, please. So proposed next steps, pending any edits or amendments to the plan that you have before you, that the 2025-2029 Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan would be adopted. And then the municipality would notify Solgen, the ministry, that they have refreshed their plan and they're in compliance, and that it's the expectation from the ministry, from Solgen, that these plans be posted digitally to the municipal website within 30 days of adoption. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Carrie. First of all, I do want to mention that you had mentioned it briefly in your comments about the 211 service, an excellent service that not a lot of people know or understand their value to our community. 211 has been around for, gosh, perhaps 25, 30 years, and they've done some terrific work, and I'm really glad that it's part of this plan as well, as they will be there to help people when they really need some help. So, and they are a great information source. So thank you for mentioning those. And the other point, the clerk just reminded me that I was appointed as the Huronia West OPP Detachment Board member to sit on this group. So I'll learn about clarifying my role, as you said in there. So I'll find out more about that as well. So thank you. Members of council, do you have any questions to Carrie? Yes, go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Carrie. The information for the proposed strategies, where did that come from?
Through your worship, in response, it came from data. So it came from public health data, came from police data, came from 211 data, came from StatsCan data. It came from the 2 online surveys, the resident survey, the provider survey. It came through focused presentations and like polling that I did with different groups like Ontario Health Team, Mental Health Collaborative Tables, Poverty Reduction Task Group. And where I
So-
could, I slipped into other like events that, were happening that I could kind of gather feedback and information. And
Okay, hold on, that's enough.
okay.
The reason I was saying that, because as a member of county council as well, I like to hear where the information comes from. And I felt in your presentation that we're being told how our strategy is going to evolve. And some of the topics you brought up, I would say don't relate to Clearview Township. Now, hoping that this is a working paper that going forward, when we were asked to put input into this. So right now, we haven't put any input into this, to this process yet, if I'm correct.
The council, just to clarify,
Yes.
you're talking council members. If you were not at one of the sessions, no, then you would
Okay,
not
that's
have,
fine, that's good.
or the
Because I think
survey.
it's important that in future, maybe you will attend our council in person, because I think there's a lot of points when we talk about our membership with Wasaga or Collingwood or Springwater, we're different municipalities. Yes, we're neighbors. Yes, there's a lot of things that are similar, but there's a lot of things that are different. So I hope that gets pulled out in the coming presentations, because I felt there was a few things in there that don't relate to us. So anyways, I'll leave you the benefit of the doubt, but please look at coming to us next time. We can arm wrestle a bit. Thank you.
I appreciate, through your worship, in response, I appreciate that comment. And I would welcome that because, it's hard as a consultant when you're trying to set strategy for a community and you're relying on, the providers, and they're a great source of information. You've got incredible providers, but I also recognize that council has a different perspective. And I think that even just through the evolution of the GMCC and having more stable kind of representation there, that we will see that come through. And then when we have opportunity, and like I said, when we do that initial kind of consultation to identify the areas of risk and setting strategy, it's 4 years. And so we need to kind of, through that process of 4 years, be doing those checks and balances and finding out what is different. And I can completely agree with you that between you and some of those other municipalities you mentioned, you are different. And they're different from each other again. And so that is tricky when you have a joint plan, that you have to kind of figure out like what is common and then what is different. And so we have to be able to accommodate for that in the implementation phase. And so that's where I would look forward to engaging you.
Good. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paul. Is there other members of council? Any questions? All right. Thank you very much, Carrie, for your presentation. I have no further questions, but I do look forward to a good discussion at the Huronia West OPP Detachment Board meetings about this. I know that this is going to be presented to Springwater and Wasaga Beach. And so once that is then passed by those municipalities and ours, we can then discuss it at the board level, and that's great. So I'm glad to have that update. The other thing too is that there will be sort of an annual report. I'm just not sure who's preparing that annual report. Is that the responsibility of each municipality, or how are we going to do that annually?
Thank you, Your Worship, for the question. That's a good question. So I will be supporting, because we recognize that this is work that would be completely off the side of someone's desk. So I will be supporting each municipality to create a report on the plan. So on your collective plan, a collective report. And if there's anything that we need to pull out that are nuances, across the municipalities, we can capture it in that report. And as far as who would be writing that report, I would be doing the bulk of that work, and then working with members of the municipal staff as to like who puts that in a staff report, how do we kind of package that, and when does it come back to council. So as a member of the GMCC or that governance group, that's not the operational group, that is the governance group kind of overseeing the plan. There will be a series of invitations that will be coming out to those members in the next week. Tonight is my last night, so after this, I'm jumping right back onto Collingwood, and then I will have the 4 municipalities will have been presented the plan. And so whenever that invitation comes from the board, there's also something that we're looking at across the OPP is, do we pull something together as a bit of a joint strategy, like a joint meeting initially? So we're working out the logistics of that.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Well, we're going to learn more about this, and I'm glad that we've got somebody of your, skills and ability to handle dealing with this. So thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing further from members? All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining us virtually here online. It was a good presentation. Okay. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Council, we're going to move on now on our agenda over to emergency services. And we have a report, in fact, regarding the community safety well-being plan. So I'll read this out and then I'll look for a mover and seconder. Recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report FD 004-2025, the South Georgia Bay Springwater Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for 2025 through to 2029, dated on July the 28th, 2025. Item 1, that Council adopt the South Georgia Bay and Springwater Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for 2025 through 2029, attached as Appendix A to this report. Very good. Mr. Walker, would you move? Thank you. Is there a seconder? Mr. MacArthur, thank you. And any questions on the report? And the chief is available if there's any questions you have to the chief. No questions? All right. Council, you've got a motion in front of you. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, Council, we're going to move directly over to item number 6, which is our public meeting. And as per our procedures here at Clearview Township, the option of the chair to pass the public meeting portion over to the deputy. I am more than happy to do that tonight. You
Your
just
worship,
take it
I
over.
will be glad to take it over for you.
Take the
Thank
chair,
you.
please. Thank you.
So with that, we will now initiate the public meeting portion of tonight's agenda. The public meeting is being held pursuant to Section 7 of the Building Code Act 1992 as amended to present and obtain public input on the municipality's proposed building permit fee bylaw revision. As identified in the notice of public meeting, please be advised that your written and oral comments will form part of the public record. Your communication and any personal information therein will be made available to the public. The following public meeting will involve a brief presentation by the Township's Chief Building Officer, including a brief explanation of any written comments received, a period for public comments or questions, if any, and an opportunity for questions by council. I get the privilege of introducing Township's Chief Building Officer, Scott McLeod. Welcome, who will be presenting the building permit fee bylaw revision that is being considered. First of all, I'll ask the clerk, while we're at it, has there been any written submission for tonight's public meeting?
I know there has not, Deputy Mayor Van Stafford.
Thank you. Scott, the floor is yours.
Oh, okay, it's different than those ones. My apologies. So yes, we are here to hold a public meeting on the proposed building permit fee revisions that are being proposed. Next one. So with the amending the building permit fee bylaw, there is notice and circulation that's required. Notice of the proposed building permit fee revisions bylaw amendment has been given in accordance with the Building Code Act. Notice of the public meeting was provided July the 2nd, and that was through posting on our website, and the supporting documents have been made available during that time period. Slide, please. So the information that's been made available through the public notice is the notice of the public meeting itself, along with the staff report to council on the proposed fee bylaw revisions. And that also included the updated Schedule B fee schedule that's being proposed. Next slide, please. So where we are in the process, and in terms of just reviewing the process, we're obviously at the public meeting. Following the public meeting and any comments or feedback that we receive, staff will take that information and prepare a staff recommendation and report to bring back to council. That report would come forward to council at the next earliest meeting, which is August the 11th. And if adopted by council, then the bylaw would come into force and effect on that date. Under the freedom of information, we invite you to provide comment on the proposed building permit fee bylaw revisions and engage in the process with us. But also please be advised that your comments will form a part of the public record and that your communication and any Personal information therein will be made available to the public unless you expressly request it through. Next slide, please. So by way of background, building permit fees, our building permit fee schedule has a provision in it for adjustment every year. And that is based on indexing. The indexing increase is in accordance with the prescribed construction index used to update the development charges bylaw. So it's a similar format. As determined by the treasurer based on the construction index 12-month period ending in September. So every year our building permit fee schedule is updated based on this construction index. The new fee bylaw does propose to limit that increase. So previously it was just based on that, and historically the construction index was typically pretty stable and reflected cost of living. But you may recall the last time that we amended this bylaw was in I think 2020 during COVID, when the construction index was at its highest. And the construction index that year was either 14 or 16%. So at that time we had a public meeting to not increase our bylaw. And so the idea of putting an upper limit on the increase is just to prevent us from having to come back to council with, the intent is for the fee schedule to keep up with cost of living, but we don't want to have another situation where we're dealing with a very large increase and having to hold a public meeting to not increase it. So we are proposing as part of the bylaw an upper limit of 3% per year as a maximum. So the construction index could actually come through at 1.2%. That's what would be applied. But if the construction index was 4%, the maximum that we would impact the bylaw fee 3%. So we've also looked at some fee structure enhancements. Schedule B has been restructured to essentially group building types by occupancy classification. It just makes it a little more clear to figure out what the associated fees are based on building classification and types. We've also added Group G occupancy, which is a new category. It's just a technical category that's been assigned to farm buildings under the building code. We're not proposing to change the fees. We're just recognizing that new classification. We've also looked at we've also proposed to change accessory dwelling units. We've sort of used to just always treat them like a new dwelling unit whenever they were creating a unit. So we've given them a standalone subheading, and we also have reduced the base rate for accessory dwelling units. So that's been reduced by $964 is what's being proposed. And that's in part because, usually the fee for a new dwelling is a totally new structure, but often accessory apartments are either within the dwelling or they're an addition. And so it's not as onerous of a project as a complete new structure. And so we've recognized that in the proposed fee schedule. We've also identified designated structures a little bit more clearly, so it's just more clearly separated and organized. Next slide, please. We've also added some new administrative fees, and we certainly brought this up in some discussions during budget time and all that with council as well. But this is an opportunity to share that with the public. We're looking at introducing fees to cover the issuance and registration and discharge of orders under the Building Code Act, as well as title searches and associated administrative fees. So traditionally, we haven't been registering, there actually wasn't the ability to register orders under the building code on title, but there is that ability now. And traditionally, we always are happy with our ability to resolve most non-compliance issues cooperatively with people. But when that's not the route that it's going, then what we do now is we do a title search on the property, make sure that we have the right parties identified. We do that search through our municipal solicitor. And then we, if orders are introduced because of the non-compliance, then we register those orders on title. There's a cost associated with doing that. There's a cost associated with doing the title search, and there's a cost associated with once you do gain compliance, whether that's voluntary or whether that's through the courts, to remove that order from title. There's a cost associated with that. And so we have placed those costs and proposed them under the new fee schedule. Additionally, we have introduced some fees associated with alternative solutions. So the building code provides for other compliance paths for, you might have unusual circumstances and maybe there's an alternative solution that you can propose under the building code. It's sort of a rare incident that we deal with. I think the last one that we dealt with was with a alternative construction method for exterior walls on a residential dwelling that wasn't technically recognized through the building code. And so the proponent of that property went through an engineer and placed an alternative solution proposal, which is provided for in the building code for us to review and either approve or not approve. And if we don't approve, they have the opportunity to appeal our decision to independent body through the Building Code Commission under the Building Code Act. And so when you receive those proposals, they are just like having a new building permit. They take a lot of time and skill to review. And also if you're appealed and you have to go to Toronto to support the municipal position, there's costs associated with that. So we've put some costs in there for alternative solutions. They certainly aren't totally representative of what the real cost, but it's a good median range and it's comparable to what other municipalities have already instituted. Conditional building permit fees. We actually had this fee in our bylaw and at some point through one revision or another, it got missed. And so we're just simply putting back in the conditional building permit fee. So there's an ability again under the building code for applicants to provide, ask for a conditional building permit. An instance where someone might do that is a commercial project. They have all their approvals in place. They have foundation plans. They know what the building's going to be, but maybe they don't have the sprinkler drawings for the building or some other component. And they may request to move the project forward while they're working on that to ask for a conditional building permit for the foundation only. And so we've traditionally always had a fee associated with that, and we're just looking at reinstituting that in. The fact that the fee hasn't been there for a couple of years hasn't stopped us from anyone from their ability to apply for conditional building permit. It's just limited our ability to collect costs associated with that additional work. And then also we've instituted a fee, and we've always had that in there for permit revisions, but we've put in a few new revisions to recognize that some projects are more comprehensive than others. And if you're spending hours on revisions, then our bylaw would set out fees associated with that time element. Slide, please. Recommendation. The proposed recommendation is to adopt the amended or appendix number C of the proposed Schedule B fee bylaw. That is what the recommendation that we put forward. It is a little unusual in terms of the I know with planning meetings and all that, typically you have a public meeting, you receive input, and then you prepare a staff report. It is a little different with the building code in that we are putting out a proposal and looking for feedback. Next slide, please. The financial impacts, there are no financial impacts on the proposed 2025 Clearview budget, as no building permit fee increases were considered as part of the overall budget planning for this year. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Scott. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak to the proposed building permit fee bylaw revisions? No? Well, I'll read the rest, but questions may be directed to or responded to by the Township of Clearview's Chief Building Officer, but should be addressed through this chair. Seeing none, that's okay. Any member of council wish to ask Scott any questions? Your worship, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Scott, very interesting report. I read it all in detail, and I also want to acknowledge and thank you for sharing it with members of council some weeks ago. And I appreciate that because there's a lot of detailed information in here that certainly members needed to review. One of them, though, I want to bring up is something you brought up just in your presentation, and that was the Building Code Commission. Has that existed for a while? I've not heard of that before, and maybe you could explain to me how that impacts the work that you do here.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, yes, it's been in place for quite some time. I've only been there once, I believe. It actually was on a residential project. It was actually on the one that I mentioned in terms of an alternative building solution. Yeah, it's always been an opportunity. If someone feels that they're aggrieved by a decision of a chief building official, they can actually appeal that decision to the Building Code Commission. There are limits on what types of decisions and all that, but the commission is there to hear those.
So is that commission, if I can, Mr. Chair, is that commission sort of, would it be a similar process to an OLT, OMB type hearing where there would be hearing officers, you give evidence, et cetera?
Yeah, again, Your Worship, there is a panel of experts that they draw from the community throughout Ontario. So usually there's a couple engineers and people of various disciplines from the building code that work with the building code in different areas and all that. So they have an expert panel to rely on. But typically there's a panel of about 4, but there would be a chair as well. And collectively, they make a decision on some of these appeals that go before them.
Right.
I've sat in on a few where surrounding municipalities are being taken to the commission just to show support for that municipality, but also just to see how the hearing works and how the commission functions. But it's a fairly informal process, not certainly as formal as the OLT or whatever.
Okay. So binding decisions and or appealable decisions, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we use it a lot of times when we're having dialogue with applicants and they don't necessarily agree with perhaps an interpretation of the building code or a position, whatever, and we're always open to them taking that. It's a timely process, so it's not always to the benefit of the applicant, quite frankly, because of it's a timely process. But it certainly has always been there, and it's something that we've always put out there to applicants that come to us and feel that they're aggrieved.
Well, I'll do some more research on that. I appreciate that.
Yep.
The point that I did want to ask is, you can appreciate in my role as the mayor, often I have people ask me, particularly over the last couple of months, of the lack of new building permits being available in Stayner due to our water restriction issue. And I was asked by a very bright young builder who suggested that a conditional building permit be issued so that all the work could be done, but the plumbing wouldn't be hooked up until such time as water was available. Is that a proper use of a conditional building permit in your opinion?
No, it isn't, in my opinion. Again, I don't have all the facts before me, but
Well, I'm just giving you an example. I mean,
yeah.
that's,
So typically, with any conditional building permit, you have to have all your applicable law complied with. So, giving the example of water and the restriction that we currently find ourselves here, Stayner, part of your approval is having planning approval, having public works approval, and if you can't get those applicable law approvals, we can't even issue a conditional building permit. And so, the way our zoning bylaw and various bylaws are structured, we wouldn't be able to issue a permit that's in compliance with those other applicable laws. So it wouldn't meet the test for a conditional building permit. But really the intent of a conditional building permit is Another application where it can be used is, you know, you've had a minor variance for a project. And we have used this in limited cases, but typically in the fall of the year, someone's had a very late minor variance and they're still in the appeal period. So, you know, they've submitted their building permit. If we had the total clearance of the minor variance, we'd be able to issue the building permit. But we don't, and we find ourselves in the appeal period. But the committee has found in favor of their application. We can actually, in those instances, consider a conditional building permit for, say, the foundation to get them moving forward with their slab for, we have done it for garages, because at the end of the day, we could kind of view it as if they don't get their minor variance, they've got a really big patio in their backyard. But that's another instance. But really, it's conditional building permits. You've got everything in place. There's maybe some technical drawing that you don't have, but you have enough information to inform, say, the foundation. And while you're waiting on those other drawings to be completed by your design team, they can be considered in that case. And we have considered that, again, typically on larger commercial projects.
All right, Mr. Chair, the final point I'll make then on that question line is that we're talking about housing issues here. We're talking about residential issues. We're talking about people who want to, you know, bring their family back together. You used to call them granny flats, or renovating the basement and let grandma move in, or renovate the middle floor and make it more of a you know, a comfortable space for an elderly parent to move into the home. And usually that would involve adding another bathroom, which of course then triggers the whole intent of a water permit to allow additional water use, an additional water unit or half unit to be issued. And if the units are simply not available, everything comes to a halt. Like, it just completely comes to a halt, given that people can't, you know, consolidate and bring their families together in a residential setting to try to bring the compassionate family back together. And a conditional building permit, you know, would be a valuable tool that we could consider, whereas the property owner and the family who would like to bring grandma home would be able to do the build, do the construction, do the physical work, lay out the, you know, the work, but not connect any pipes until such time as water servicing is available. And that, of course, could be made available through inspections, because a big part of our fee structure, which we're talking about it today, is the cost of inspections. Like, it actually costs for us to send inspectors out to do their job, and they have reports to file, and that's why the fees are the fees that make up that. So I look at it like it makes total sense to allow someone to go ahead and build these projects. And if they have to live with the inconvenience of not having the secondary washroom functioning until such time as we can get water here, and extended water services, I mean, it makes total sense. So what's your reaction to asking for, you know, some ability of our building department to allow people to do something like that, Scott?
Guess, who would you be asking? Are you asking me or are you asking the province?
I'm asking you because you're the
have-
chief building official, and it clearly says in the act that you, as the chief building official, have a responsibility to offer an opinion.
No, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to understand for clarification. Yeah, so definitely with conditional building permits, at the discretion of the chief building official, it's not a right, it's a request that someone can make in terms of conditional building permit. At the end of the day, you have to meet the test under the building code, and you have to meet all applicable law. And if you can't do that, then we would not be in a position to issue the building permit. And so with our water restriction that we have in place right now, we're not in a position to issue building permits, unfortunately.
That's all my questions for today. Thanks.
Did you wish Dan to answer any of that or talk about that at all with water, or we leave that till later?
That's another time.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have questions? Scott, I have a couple of quick ones for you. With those new categories, BG, ADUs, are those new categories mandated by the province, or are those ones that our staff has segregated for our usage?
Thank you. The new category, the category G for farm buildings, is a new category under the building code. So it's been instituted by the province.
Do we see the province really stepping up to try and help growth as far as residential development and stuff like that?
So they're just clerical changes that they've made in the building code. Again, in terms of the G occupancy, it's just a new classification. Historically, there was a separate farm building code that dealt with farm buildings, and they pulled it all into the building code now. And so in doing that, they had to create a new classification type under the building code for farm buildings. And so that's what they've done through the province. We no longer refer to a separate farm building code for dealing with, you know, larger farm buildings, that sort of thing. And so within that classification, they've set out different criteria for different sizes of farm buildings.
Thank you. On your topic of compliance issuance fees, it is not, and I didn't see the fee, but it came to my attention tonight. There's not a set fee. Like if a person is non-compliant and the lawyers have to go after them, spend hours doing sub-searches and everything else, that fee is proportional to their work that they put into it, and we register that on title?
Yeah, again, thank you for the question. In terms of the administrative fee related to non-compliance and dealing with orders, and it's purely what we've put in the bylaw, purely reflective of the cost for doing the title search through our solicitor. And it's purely reflective of the real cost for taking that order and registering it on title, and the true cost for taking that order that's registered off the title. It's not reflective of all the work that our lawyer is doing in the background if we're dealing with a non-compliance issue that we are dealing with charges and taking them to court. That's a whole separate issue altogether. And it's not something that, this is something that through the bylaw, it's an administrative real fee that we're faced with. But in terms of that costs associated with going to court, that would be a matter for the courts to decide on whether or not we could recover that.
Okay, sorry. Last question. The revisions fees that you're talking about for the review plans for changes, is that after the permit is issued or prior to? In other words, if somebody walks in, here's a permit application, come back 5 times before we've issued the permit, or are these fees after they've issued the permit?
So these fees are typically we've completed our review and we're issuing the permit, and then they're proposing a change. Or sometimes during the process, we've completed our review, they haven't finalized the permit in terms of maybe fees and approval, and then they come in with a whole new set of plans, then we would, so they could be through during the application process, or it could be after the permit's issued. Most times it's after the permit is issued and they've made a change to the overall project or plan.
Good, thank you. Any other questions from council? Okay, this concludes the, oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy. Scott, on the accessory dwelling units, I had a question. A citizen called me the other day, and I had said to him that I think the province is allowing accessory buildings now on properties that have enough land to support it and they meet setbacks and there's a water connection. Is there any restrictions? I think this is a single dwelling unit on just off of 91. And would he be allowed to build an accessory dwelling unit as long as it meets those criteria? Or are there other restrictions within zoning that will not permit it?
Through the deputy mayor, I'm used to through the mayor, but through the deputy mayor. Again, if it's in Stainer, it's a bit of a different beast because of our water restriction. So yes, the province has mandated in terms of the rights to have secondary and third units. And it may even go beyond that. I would leave that up to planning in terms of some of those questions. But if you're under the zoning bylaw permitted to have an accessory dwelling and providing that there is services available, then yeah, we can issue a permit for it. But if there isn't service available, now when you mentioned 91, if it's outside the serviced area and it's in a rural property, and it's subject to septic, then it's a matter of meeting the building.
This one's within the servicing area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, could the individual build an accessory building? Not a dwelling?
So again, we would just have to judge the merits of the application that they're submitting to us. So if they're submitting an application for an accessory building and they can meet all the tests and all the applicable law in terms of zoning bylaw setbacks and those sort of requirements and the building code, then we would be able to issue that permit like any other permit. But what I will say is if you can't call it an accessory building and have it as an accessory dwelling
Right.
and think that we're going to issue the permit, because we are not. It has to be what it's
What
proposed
you're
to
saying
be.
is, yeah.
Otherwise, you're in non-compliance. We want to be in a position to obviously issue permits for accessory dwellings. That would be my dream right now here in Stainer. But again, we find ourselves under
Yeah.
restriction, and that's something outside of my control at this time, as it is outside of a lot of people's control.
And
But we certainly look forward to that moment when we can issue permits for accessory dwellings.
we're getting very
Town.
close to that time period, hopefully, to be able to provide these water allocations. No, I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other questions of council? Okay. This concludes the public meeting with respect to municipality's proposed building fee permit revision amending bylaw. We thank all who provided any comments and for their interest in this matter. These comments will be considered by council prior to the enactment of the building permit fee bylaw revision. Your worship, I'll turn it back to you. Scott, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Great job as always on our public meetings. Council, at this time, we're going to move to item number 7, which is approval of our council meeting minutes. Be it resolved, the council of the Township Clearview hereby approve the minutes of the July 14, 2025 council meeting as presented. Mr. Walker, Mr. Beelan, thank you. Mr. Broderick has a question. I know he mentioned it before the meeting. Go ahead, Mr. Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, it's more of a clarification. Under ward reports of the July 14th, 2025 council meeting minutes, in the mayor's report, where he thanked Stainer ATV Club for another great Canada Day parade. It's actually Central Ontario ATV Club. And the reason I bring this up, and I think it's an important clarification, just so everybody understands, they're actually the folks that are responsible for building and maintaining most of the ATV and side-by-side trails in Simcoe County. There are a lot of members that do live in Clearview Township, but they come from all over Simcoe County, and they were asked to support, and they showed up and did.
Thank you, Mr. Broderick. I'll go back and watch the tape, but I'm pretty confident I would have said COATV, but nevertheless, if it's incorrect in the text, let's get it corrected. Okay, Madam Clerk, thank you. Thank you for that, Councilor Broderick.
Thank you.
Council is a mover and seconder on the motion. I am prepared to call the motion if there's nothing further. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries unanimously. This time we're going to go to our correspondence, which will start with item 8.1. This is our closed session report. Council, as I said some hours ago, did meet in camera. And so I have 2 recommendations that have come out of that session that I'll read in the open session of meeting. And the first one is in regards to a potential property purchase. So Mr. Deputy Mayor will step back from the counter and I will read this. Be it resolved that Council of the Township Clearview hereby direct staff to act in accordance with the direction provided in closed session regarding the potential property purchase. Mr. MacArthur, Mr. Broderick, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that carries with all members present. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Mayor can return. This one is in regards to Nottawa Hall. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby direct staff to act in accordance with the direction provided in closed session regarding the Nottawa Hall Board. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Mr. Walker. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's also unanimous. Thank you, council. Also underneath our correspondence, there's got a few things here. NVCA customer satisfaction hits its new high in 2024. There's a celebration. Go ahead.
The report you'll see, Jonathan Scott, who's our chairman of our board, has been working very closely with Jennifer Vincent, who is our new CAO. And they've done a great job of streamlining, of communicating, of getting processes sped up and everything. So I guess it's the kudos to them for the results they're getting. And the satisfaction survey is starting to show the results. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you for that. Glad to hear it. There's also the county releases annual report on affordable housing and homelessness prevention measures that are underway. It's a good report. It's available on the county website. And further, there's a renewed strategy for early learning and childhood care service system is also being released. So some good information there if anybody has any questions. All right, seeing none, we'll move over to our council reports. Mr. Broderick, you are up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. July 19th, attended the grand opening of Clearview Ag Inc. July 20th, attended the Creemore BIA Downtown Streetscape Plan presentation. On the 23rd, attended the Habitat for Humanity home dedication in Stayner. On the 24th, attended the Clearview Chamber of Commerce Business After 5 at Barbaritos in Stayner. And on the 25th, attended the Sunnydale Hall board meeting. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go to Mr. MacArthur. Hello, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. 16th, it was a fantastic day and evening as we finally got our first tour of the nearly completed Evening Hall renovation, and it's coming together. We hope to have the parking lot paved. I think they're predicting mid-August, and hopefully we should be up and going by mid-September once we get the cobwebs cleaned out of the place. Anyway, be a lot of elbow grease used between now and then, but it's very exciting, and I'm sure the public will be glad to see it. On the 17th, was country night here at Music Market and Parket, and I brought my horses over to be part of that, and lots of kids enjoyed that. And because of that, I totally forgot about the Evening Hall priority meeting where they approved a purchase of a fairly sophisticated sound system to go along with the new hall. So that'll be a great improvement. On the 19th, grand opening Clearview Egg, like mentioned before, and on the 20th, the Streetscapes public meeting in Creemore, where we got a ton of feedback, and we're not sure just how much we can do and when we can do it, but there's a lot of exciting ideas for renovating and revitalizing the main street of Creemore. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, I'll speak about that too when it's my turn. Mr. Deputy Mayor, would you like to go again?
Thank you, Your Worship. July 18th, here, we had the great honor of being at the open house for Walker Aggregates. Every year they put on a barbecue for their local neighbors, and some, we'll say, dignitaries and people get invited like ourselves, and the MPP was there. Great opportunity to see, if you ever get a chance to see a blast at a quarry, and they put on a fantastic barbecue. We had a great time. We meet a lot of the community people there, and they very much appreciate us being there. So it was well received. That same afternoon, we traveled over to Singhampton for the ribbon cutting for the new Tim Hortons at the Ultramar store in Singhampton, which is connected to our other Clearview stores, being Stayner, Cashdown Corners, and Sunnydale Corners. It's all one big team, we'll say. And once again, we were well received as a community event sort of thing. Clearview Ag, Marika and her husband are now the operators of the new Clearview Ag. So it's a great store for not just for farm products, but for we'll say doggies and cats and all that stuff. So if you have a chance, go in there and take a look, and they're very welcoming, the new owners. So that's for me.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. July 16th, I was at the Station on the Green meeting. They have lots of rentals. Everything's going pretty good there. July 20th, I was at the Streetscapes meeting. I thought it was great. I liked most of their ideas. Some of them expensive, but I liked them. July 23rd, the Climate Action Advisory Committee met. With all the things that Clearview's done to reduce greenhouse gases and prepare the Clearview Township for emergencies, we're really struggling for things to do. So if staff or council or the general public have ideas on what the Climate Action Committee can do, just send us an email. And finally, I'd like to say that the whole town of New Lowell is saddened by the passing of Tom Verstraeten, another person killed in a tragic motor vehicle accident. Tom will be missed around New Lowell. I know I'll miss some fishing. Fishing won't be the same without him in the boat beside me. His celebration of life is August 9th at the Creemore Legion, 1 to 4. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Our condolences to the whole Verstraeten family. Sure. Mr. Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just one, July 23rd, the Habitat for Humanity, a key presentation and opening to the family, and best wishes to the family on their newly acquired home. And I think they will greatly enjoy being where they are and having their own home to call home, to have their own Christmas and all those other things that go along with that. I was unfortunately not able to meet the July 19th grand opening or the 20th of the streetscape due to prior commitments. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Robert. Thank you for attending. And that's a good point about the Habitat for Humanity bill. It was really nice. The family was very grateful. But I want to point out the family themselves also put in a lot of sweat equity and work to help build and finish the facility as well. That's part of the agreement that Habitat does with the owners, that they have to invest their time and effort into the home as well. So it's a terrific facility. I just want to do a little shout out to one organization that was part of that. They didn't get a whole lot of attention when we were there, Robert, but and to the rest that were there. But I do want to mention the employees of Honda. Honda Canada had a team show up there a couple of weeks before we were there at that event. And that Honda team built the entire fence, all that fencing that's all around that property. They built that, contributed it, the whole thing. And I was like so impressed. And two gentlemen were there from Honda to just to be part of that opening out of their own time. They were off work that day and they drove over because they thought it was such a great project. And so it just shows the kind of community, good social responsibilities that these large corporations and employees demonstrate by helping Habitat for Humanity. So I was very impressed with that. A couple of nice gentlemen were there, so it was great. I do want to mention too the BIA Streetscapes discussion. I know this council and the public are going to hear lots more about it, although the presentation was an open public meeting. There was, let's say, 25, 35 people there, I guess, maybe a little more. And so I'm sure the word will get out. As Councillor Beelan pointed out, there's some great ideas. There really is. But I'm sorry to say, but about every second page that was presented in the PowerPoint presentation, I kept seeing another $1 million, another $1 million. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is such a great project, but holy cow, this is a lot of money. So, yeah, well, hopefully we can find some things to do, but it was a pretty significant project that they proposed. So we'll wait till we get a little bit more feedback from the public on that, and maybe I'll fine tune it a little bit. But it was a great event to go to, and I was happy to attend. The other one I was very happy to attend was the evening hall board tour of the hall. Our manager Terry was there, and he took us around the hall along with their board chair and the board volunteers. And there were some people there were just, the volunteers were very, very impressed with the facility, the craftsmanship of some of the work that was going on, and the innovativeness of how the corners and the ramp and everything, it was well put together. And so again, I support what you're saying about knocking the cobwebs and the dust out of it. There's going to be a good cleanup crew go down there, that's for sure. But the place looks great. I really hope it's well received by the community, and it does show that Clearview Township's looking at or continuing to invest in our halls. So I'm really looking forward to their small hall festival this year. I'm going to go and attend. I'm going to make sure I'm there for that. So that's all I want to say on that. Oh, one other thing, the mayors and CIOs meeting that John Ferguson, our CIO, and I attended in Collingwood. It was unfortunately, it was a rather quick meeting. Everybody had a lot of things on the go that day from all of our group. We had a presentation from the president of Georgian College. You basically shared with us the realities of running colleges today with the federal government programs that don't support international students anymore, and the just the reality of running colleges today. They have not decided to abandon the facility that's here in South Georgian Bay. It's just not going to operate this year. Simple as that. They've got a building there and they've had significant investment. There's nothing going to happen there for this season as far as education. I'm sure that they will work with other groups to find some uses for it on a temporary basis, but at this time, nothing's happening there. Certainly that corner of South Georgian Bay and Collingwood and Clearview, where we all kind of meet at the Poplar, there's an awful lot of attention right there. The new Collingwood General Marine Hospital is slated to go across the street there. There's a new health and wellness village that's also going to be right neighboring to this facility. So it does leave the opportunity for the college to grow again in the future. So I can appreciate what Georgian College was saying, that they're not about to abandon the site and sell it off at this time. Let's hope they don't, because they're looking to the future on how it can grow. So it was sad news, but it was reassuring to get a presentation from Georgian College about that. The last thing I'll mention too about the mayors and CAOs meeting, there was quite a discussion about the MTO. If you recall, just about coming up on 12 months now, we had a great meeting with the MTO when we were at the AMO conference, and we're still looking to move ahead with that on a full regional traffic study. The regional traffic study honestly will go from Meaford right through to Springwater Township. It's a large traffic study looking at Highway 26, Highway 10, Highway 124, the whole gamut of how traffic moves in this whole area, and what future opportunities the MTO can bring to us while we bring Central Region and West Region MTOs together to try to find some balance. So as we all know, as we heard earlier in the presentations tonight about cycling, the roads are busier than ever. There's more and more cars on the road every day. Every day there's more and more. And so I think it's now time, and the mayors and CAOs agree, we've got to get this meeting with this MTO and get them working together to recognize that we're going to need some attention here in this whole South Georgian Bay region. Certainly here in Clearview, so many of those traffic drivers, they go through our community, right? Many of them do come here to stay for sure and visit some of our tourism attributes. But this study needs to focus on going right through past Owen Sound, right up into the Bruce Peninsula, and if not, the other side of Barrie. So there's some bigger issues at foot here that need to be brought forward. And so we're glad that our mayors and CAOs are at least starting this off. I know our CAO, John Ferguson, is going to be working on that as well. So perhaps we'll hear some more about that in the future. I do have one other thing that I wanted to bring up at this time. It was a very unfortunate incident that took place here in our township in regards to Brenna, her pollinator garden that's on the boulevard on Mary Street. And it is deeply regretful that it was accidentally cut down. I know that our staff, have worked on this, and I know that through Dan, I've communicated with him, and we've had some emails about it, that he has reached out to Brenna herself and made an apology on behalf of the staff. I want to offer that same apology on behalf of the whole township, but I do want to acknowledge that things happen and communications get crossed, and sometimes we're not talking to each other at the right moment to understand when we pass a resolution here at the table here at council, how we have to make sure that that gets communicated out to all persons. So it's deeply regretful that that this happened. I couldn't believe that it actually happened. I just was shocked. And nevertheless, I had a conversation with our CIO this afternoon about it. So I'd like to ask John if you could sort of share some of the points that we talked about, John, in our office and in my office regarding how we want to communicate and how we're going to communicate better between, the work that's done here and the work that's done by our staff. John?
Thank you, Your Worship. So in this instance, an odd circumstance occurred where one of our employees was no longer working that particular area, and a new individual was put in place at the last moment. And the communication never occurred not to cut that particular area. And unfortunately, it happened. So any instance like this here will always reflect back on how we communicate with each other. We'll recognize this as something that slipped through the cracks, but we'll certainly make sure it doesn't happen in the future. I would also say that it's regrettable and we apologize to Brenna. I know Dan reached out right away. As soon as we found out, Dan and I spoke on Friday, and Dan said he would reach out right away. And Brenna was very gracious in accepting our apology. And it's something that typically doesn't occur with us, but it happened on this occasion. And we see it as a very rare circumstance that has occurred. But we will look at our communication and make sure it's better in the future.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate the work that you do. And, we're, it impacts all of our community. When something like this happens, it's just frustrating to me as the mayor when, we know that we do good work here and we know that we have great people and then just cross wires or miscommunication. And that's just unfortunate. So, thankfully, we all have our fingers and toes, and so there was no injuries in that regard. But the garden will return, I understand, to Brenda's front yard. In the meantime, Dan pointed out to me today, which I appreciate very much, that the application form is available on our website, and it's available there for those that are interested in applying for the access to the boulevard to have the permissions to actually use it. So thank you, Dan, for pointing that out on the website. I couldn't find it right away, but thanks for pointing that out. So I'm glad it's there. And that's all I have at this time. So we'll carry on and keep doing the best job we can here as we move our community forward. Members of council, we're going to move to the rest of our agenda. Thank you for all your reports. Here's something that the folks in the front row who have been sitting in the green shirts, they've been dwindling away. Is there a game on or something that somebody had to go to? Is that what happened? I'm just wondering. Yeah, quite a delegation here earlier and it's down to 4. So I guess this is a mixed double sort of thing going on. I don't know. But anyway, council, we have a report here for the recreation department. It's PCR 010-2025 Creemore Pickleball Courts. There's 3 appendixes, including the drawings that were presented to us by the citizen earlier. The recommendation says, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PCR 010-2025, the Creemore Pickleball Courts dated July 28, 2025 for information. I'll look for a mover and seconder. Mr. MacArthur and Mr. Broderick, thank you very much. Terry, would you like to comment any further on this report?
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you very much. So yes, with your permission, I'd like to highlight a few key points. I'm also here for any questions, and also Mr. Smith's here as well. If you have any technical questions regarding pickleball, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer some of those as well. So we've been through a very good process here with the folks in Creemore. Although my report is called the Creemore Pickleball Courts Report, there is a bit of a Creemore Tennis Club portion in here as well. As you recall, Council, we made a presentation to you folks last year during our 2025 budget deliberations, requesting approximately $100,000 to build a pickleball court. I think back then it was 4 courts on the west side of the Creemore Arena. At that time, Council had denied the project at this point and asked us to go back and do some research to find out if there were other opportunities in Creemore prior to building a new court. And so we have moved forward and done that. We explored some indoor facilities such as the Creemore Curling Club, which was deemed to be not conducive for pickleball. The measurements were not wide enough and the beams were too much of a concern for injury. Also, we explored the opportunity of using the inside of the Creemore Arena over the course of the summer. Also, it was deemed to not be a suitable location from both the staff's perspective and the pickleballers. I think as Mr. Smith had during his presentation had mentioned that they're looking for outdoor pickleball, not really indoor pickleball, especially over the course of the summer. There is indoor pickleball, as Mr. Schmidt mentioned, in our facilities over the course of the winter, but they're looking for something outdoor. Also, the arena over the summer months is very humid, very hot. If we have a typical summer like we have this year, it's just scorching in that arena. It's especially during the day, not too bad in the late evenings, but during the day it's very hot, very humid, and the ground's very wet. The cement gets really wet. So again, we explored that location, and it was not deemed to be a good location. Also, during the process, we talked to the Creemore Tennis Club with respect to thinking out of the box as we think long term and we think about the growth that's going to happen in Creemore with respect to perhaps moving the existing tennis courts from the Gowan Park over to the Creemore Arena location and build a bit of a racket club area, which would include some tennis courts and some pickleball courts and perhaps a pavilion and some washrooms down the road and that kind of thing. And we had some really good meetings. Councillor MacArthur was present, and with the folks from the Creemore Tennis and some folks from Creemore Pickleball, and then the Creemore Tennis Club had a bit of a vote internally amongst their members, and they wrote us a letter expressing that they were not interested in moving locations at this time. And so we respected that decision on their behalf. We also moved forward working with Mr. Schmidt and also Mr. Stevens, who made a presentation a couple of weeks ago with respect to a potential master plan for that whole west side of the Creemore Arena. And although it's a big plan which has a lot of dollars attached to it, we think that there's still opportunity to perhaps start small and grow and build something now, and then we can always grow into some sort of plan down in the future. So with all that being said, the department is providing all the information that you see in our report. It's up to council to decide. Again, our recommendations during budget time was to spend $100,000. We think that with today's the cost of building, and in consultation with Mr. Smith, who's done a lot of research with other pickleball courts in other communities, especially new ones, we think that $100,000 would be able to cover 2 pickleball courts, which would include the proper fencing, some signage, some benches, and of course the pickleball courts with the colors that have been expressed. So we feel confident that the $100,000 would still work. As I mentioned during our budget deliberations, we thought we can build 4. We think 2 would be for now. And I think one more key point, Your Worship, to mention is there was a desire or a talk about perhaps having a shared use, like a multi-use pad for pickleball courts and or outdoor rinks or that kind of thing. And again, our research has shown that we can build a pad, but it should be separate. So you could build one big concrete pad, but one side should be designated for pickleball courts only, and then you could use another side for ball hockey or outdoor hockey. But both of them at the same time might be a bit problematic at this point. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of it's not we're not tight for space. There's lots of room there. But if council wants to do a multi-use pad, it would cost a bit more. If we're just going to build pickleball courts only, the $100,000 would capture that part. So sorry, that's a long-winded intro, but I just thought it'd be some key points that I wanted to share with council, and we're definitely available for any questions if council may have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Perhaps Mr. Smith can stand by if there's any questions we have for him. It's technical. Members of council, do you have a question, Paul? Deputy Mayor, please.
I do. Thank you. In your presentation there, Dan, or sorry, with Terry, A10, I love the idea of those side-by-side courts. I personally think if the club were to grow the way I would expect it to with their growth in our community, if they ever wanted to hold a tournament or anything like that, I question whether we have enough courts with 4. And if you're thinking of the second, we'll call it the westerly part of that drawing, to use it as we'll call a multi-use court, I would strongly recommend that you make it bigger so that it's the same length as that can accommodate 2 pickleball courts because traditionally I've always played pickleball on a tennis court that's been cut in half sort of thing. So whether it can be added later on, whatever, but I think that pad is not big enough for what we would like to do.
Your worship, if I may, through you to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren, just to clarify, the design that we got done was part of the concept of moving the tennis courts from Gowan to this location. So that was a concept that we had created if they had so choose to want to move. But at this point, they do not want to move. So this design that I brought forward is it's a bit of a moot point at this point because the tennis people don't want to move.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, the concern I have with tennis is that our kids in the community, that tennis court is locked most of the time. And I want our kids in the community, or any member of our community, to play tennis when they want. And that's not happening. So whether we have to go it alone without the Creemore, the tennis club, I still haven't seen any documents about our understanding. I remember 30 years ago when I was here about money being spent by the Bernard family to improve that. But other than that, I can't, I can't lean on any other documents that we have. All I'm saying is we should be prepared that we may need tennis courts there someday. And if we're not going to build that portion within that $100,000 budget, that's fine. But if we think we can build it within the $100,000 that's budgeted, I think we should extend it to make it a square, we'll say. The other concern I have when Jesse did his presentation, we have to be aware we have enough room still there for 3 soccer pitches.
Through your worship, I have not went out and done the actual measurements. If we're relying on Mr. Stevens' presentation, he has confirmed that he had went out and measured his plan, and he had confirmed that it would fit. I have not went out myself to double check those measurements. If I take his word for it, then I would say yes, but I cannot confirm.
Okay, that's good. No, I just want to make sure we protect the soccer fields for the kids. Thank you.
Good points. Thank you very much. Mr. MacArthur, I see you want? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and just like to comment, I've joined Mike and his group a couple of times down at Mansfield, and they didn't let me win a game the first night, but reluctantly I went back the second time for more punishment. But anyway, they had a grant and whatnot, and it's a beautiful facility. It's a 4-court like the deputy's recommending, and still it's not overly big, but I'm thinking it's quite doable in the space where we've proposed here now. So, and he's also, Terry said in his report, like, we're trying to look after all facets of sports and rec in this township. And of course, as you stated, you and Mr. Walker 25 years ago, this wasn't even on the radar. So we got to move with the times. That's my comments.
Thank you so much. Other members of council? Any other questions? All right, good. Can I just ask to the pickleballers that are still with us, have you ever played pickleball on tennis courts? Yeah? Is there a difference? Do you want to come up to the mic there? I think it's green for good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Your Worship. My information is based on the Mansfield pickleball court and tennis court. So in 2023, they received $150,000 through the Ontario Trillium Foundation.
Lovely.
Which allowed them to build a tennis court, and within that 4 pickleball courts. And it is, like Councillor MacArthur says, a great facility to play at. And unfortunately, because Clearview Township doesn't have courts, we have to travel to Wasaga Beach, Mansfield, Angus, Barrie. I don't think we've been to Collingwood. It's too expensive in Collingwood. But so that's the reason why we're looking at courts for out here, and possibly get the younger generation involved more in that type of sport too. So it's just not for us seniors.
I just wondered, because it's kind of a technical thing, whether there's no specific change in the surface of a tennis court. We're not talking Wimbledon here where it's grass. We're talking that it's usually a concrete with some type of paint or surface paint that's put on there to give it some durability, right?
Correct. And what I've said about brooming, where it's kind of grooved, like a pedestrian sidewalk, and then painted over top of that,
right,
for your zones of your courts. But that's more or less for slipping. And that's kind of the reason, the curling club or the arena is not feasible because that's a smooth surface and that's.
Yeah, it's a polished concrete surface, right?
Yes, and so
For a
that.
purpose,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Terry, over to you, just a similar kind of question. You go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And perhaps Mr. Schmidt can further answer this as well. But when we were talking to both organizations, when we were talking about this racket club, though, we did learn that there was a bit of a difference in preference with respect to the surface. Tennis people like the pavement product, where pickleballers like the cement product.
I see.
So perhaps Mr. Schmidt could perhaps explain more the technicality, but there's a better desire. So one likes pavement, the other likes concrete. You can always add that non-slip paint, but I forget the reasons, but there's a clear distinction that this plan that I put forward here, half of it was going to be concrete and the other half was going to be pavement.
I see. Okay.
So there's a slight preference.
Do you have a comment?
Thank you, Worship. It's basically due to pickleball and the how the ball is made and things like that, whereas a tennis ball is a fuzzy type, and it's just to do with technology, I guess, in the sports. And
Like the pickleball is more of a solid plastic type
Solid
structure
plastic
full of
hole.
holes.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Whereas a tennis ball is sort of a fabric ball with a rubber inner and a fuzzy outside.
Right.
Get you.
Right. And it's, I guess it has to do with the bounce, for asphalt being.
Sorry, Paul's obviously.
I was just going to say, we're going to get you playing one of these days.
No. I'm up to date on it. I, you know what? Call me up. All right. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
All I can ask, no cameras. Nevertheless. Okay. Back over to Terry if I can. Thank you.
So, Your Worship, and I was just thinking, this plan that we put forward, the reason why we were doing the swap with the skateboard park is because the skateboard park presently has concrete. So that's why that was designated for the pickleball courts, because they wanted to use
Right.
concrete. And then we would build new tennis courts next to it. That was the concept. And that's why they like that different product.
Okay. All right. So let's back up a little bit if I can. When Jesse was here, I think I asked you, Terry, about, we have a beautiful recreation master plan and it covers a whole lot of recreation issues. And it does in fact have pickleball mentions in it. It does have the need for other facilities mentioned in it. One of the pieces that was missing has been brought up not just on this park land, but is a master plan for all of our parks and how we develop each one of our parks into, make it the most usable piece for the residents that are either nearby it or how it suits and integrates into other parks that we have in our township. So you're creating a master plan for this parkland that's behind the arena, which, as I understand it, doesn't actually have a title. It's just a land, correct? Like, I don't think it's titled anything, is it? It's not, it's
Just the soccer fields, I think, is what's been referred to.
so there you go. We're going to work on that.
Yeah.
If whatever we do at the end of this, there'll be a name on that. Okay. And nevertheless. So my point to you, Terry, is that all of our parks are going to go through these type of evolutions where you create these master plans. Okay. So is there a master plan for Gowan Park right now? I mean, Gowan has got pretty extensive baseball infrastructure. We've got some youth. We've got a fantastic pavilion with a fabulous washroom. We've got a tennis court there. We've got some wildlands there. I mean, is there a master plan for Gowan Park right now?
No, Your Worship, there is no master plan for Gowan Park. It will be included in all of the parks in the parks master plan that you're referring to.
Yeah.
It will be part of it, but the Gowan Park is pretty maxed out.
It is.
For space. With the new addition of the new pavilion with the washrooms, that was probably the last. I mean, the bleachers are probably next, which will be discussed in future council meetings. But
For sure it will.
But there is no master plan for any parks, and that's what we're
I know,
working
and that's
on.
what we're trying to get to.
Correct.
All right. So please remember to bring this up during our 2026 budget.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that point at that point. So the last thing I want to get clear from you as the manager of this department. The Clearview tennis facility in Creemore with a big title on it that says Creemore Tennis Club is in fact an asset of the township of Clearview. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So it is entirely owned by us.
Correct.
All right. And is there a memorandum of understanding so that the gate is locked, as the deputy mayor pointed out?
No, there is not.
All right.
We thought there was, when we worked with the clerk's department to go through the files.
Yep.
And try to tap into the old town of Creemore. There are no, MOUs or letters of understanding. This is something that the clerk's department and our department will be working on, in the very, very near future.
Okay. So if we have a problem with the lock on there, we can nudge your neighbor right there at the desk and ask him for a pair of awesome bolt cutters. Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We do have access to the court if required.
Yeah.
We can unlock that lock if required, but the Creemore Tennis Club has been using that tennis facility for 20+ years in the way.
I get it. But
So I think we need to communicate with them to talk about the agreement and start putting that on, pen to paper and get that finalized so that council could provide direction to them on how you want to see that tennis courts operated.
well, I would suggest any operation. I mean, to be understood, Clearview Township does own the Stainer Curling Club. And that facility is the Stainer Granite Club. We have a long-standing memorandum of understanding is that they do operate it and they take great responsibility and they operate and maintain it, et cetera, et cetera. And yet we still own it, but we have an agreement with them to run it. We don't have that agreement in place for a tennis facility like this that you're talking about, right?
Not written, your worship.
Yeah.
It's kind of a gentleman's agreement, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Over years.
I'm not trying to stir it up too much. I just want to be clear that we need to get to these points.
Yes.
And I know we all got 1,000 things to do, right? But we need to get to these points to get to this. So once we build a facility, if we pass this and we move ahead with some pickleball courts in this facility, we want to be clear, it's still a Clearview asset. And whether, there's an agreement between the club on how you use it and when you use it, it's still an asset of the corporation, right? Okay, fair enough.
Your worship. Oh, sorry. Just one more comment, if I may. I forgot to mention this in my introduction, is we're obviously almost into August. We're going to be going to budget deliberations for 2026 very, very soon, probably in a month's time. So, and I had mentioned to Mr. Smith that this will probably be on a 2026 budget deliberation.
Yep.
With the information that we provide, because we're just a month away. That it's probably prudent for us to wait until that time to look at that, because this is a non-budgeted item, not like the next report that we have. It's actually already budgeted. So, and I think they know we're it'd be nice to get these built this year. And if council wants to do this right now and you want to spend that money, we sure will. But there's also, I just want to remind council that we're just a month away from budget time.
Okay, understood. All right. Now, there are some other questions as a result of me talking. So how about that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to express that the club here, the group have totally committed that this will be a totally 100% public accessible facility.
Thank you. That's excellent. Good to hear. All right. So if we push this through, members of council, we can look at this for a 2026 budget, and build process will happen in the next building season. Plenty of time for you to change your name to Clearview Pickleball Club. Members of council, you got a motion in front of you with the mover and seconder. Is there any further discussion? Yes, ma'am. Why would you want to do that? Well, yeah, but but who says that there's a Stainer Pickleball Club?
We love competition. So
Oh my
anyways-
gosh.
Anyways, it will all happen.
I'm going to get into the pickle culture, I guess. Yeah. But anyway, thank you. Members of council, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Now on to the similar topic, PCR 011, the Stainer Tennis and Pickleball Courts. There's 2 appendixes attached to this as well. This is in regards to a sports pad drawing for 214 Gideon, as well as the 220 Huron Street facilities. And so the recommendation says, be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PCR 011 2025 Stainer Tennis and Pickleball Courts dated July 28, 2025. And item 1, the council approved preparing 13,175 square feet for the grounds located at 220 Huron Street, Stayner, for a future sports pad, tennis, and pickleball courts. And item 2, the council approve the quotation from Darren Neal and Sons Excavating in the amount of $37,264 plus HST for site preparation work, being budgeted as a 2025 approved capital project under the Stayner Sports Pad. So that would be the Stayner Sports Pad line of the budget. Good. Is there a mover and seconder? Mr. Walker, thank you very much. And Mr. Broderick, thank you very much. Both avid tennis pickleball players, I'm sure. Terry, got anything you want to add to this? I know we've talked about this at length, and I'm glad to see that you've brought forward a great solution.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just perhaps one point of clarification that I just noticed in my language here. The amount that's proposed for the Darren Neal and Sons Excavating is supposed to be up to 37,264. As you know, the site that was formerly the fertilizer plant, it does have, they're going to be excavating that site, but there's a little bit of unknowns there with those old pillars that are there. So Darren Neal has confirmed that his quote could be as low as 26,000, depending on the time it will take to remove those pillars. Worst case, if it takes the maximum amount of time that he feels, then that's where the 37,264. So there's an opportunity of saving approximately $9,000 depending on the time. And again, he will not know until he actually starts digging. So it's going to be somewhere between 26 and 37,000, but worst case, it's 37 to prepare that site for any future use that council may choose.
All right.
And so for the rest of the report, Your Worship, a lot of information there, and definitely available for any questions that the council may have.
All right. Thank you. I saw the deputy mayor would like to ask a question. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Your Worship. Terry, Appendix A, which includes the layout for the sports pad drawing for 214 Gideon. That's just to show the public ourselves what we've talked about up until now, but that's got no approval or no recommendation or anything. It's just to show what we're trying to work towards.
That is correct. Through you, Your Worship, to Deputy Van Severen. Yes, again, based on the 2025 budget deliberations, Council had asked us to come back with a detailed design of what all those ideas that was proposed. So this is the direction that was provided to us from Council. So we got this design done, and this is a maximum footprint of the entire lot that of Clearview owns. So this is what a maximum space could look like, which would include 3 pickleball courts, 1 tennis court, and a basketball court. This is like an all-in, including the parking on site. But as you know, when we reviewed this plan, there are other concerns and questions that came up with respect to turning radiuses, and there's a storm sewer that kind of goes through the west end there. So there are some other items that has to be researched, which we will do in the next few months to answer those questions that were brought forward. But this is like an all-in design that was directed to us, to our department to conduct.
I know we looked at this plan quite a while ago, but I just want to make sure that we will be revisiting that plan in the coming year. That's all.
Yes,
Good.
Your Worship.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Paul. Good questions. Is there any other questions from council? Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Worship. Terry, start date for demolition of the concrete, and then is there a future date for putting the court in play, putting the court in as well?
Sorry, I had on. Through Your Worship to Councillor Walker. No, this report is, we're only asking for the site prep, not the tennis courts. After we, once we were going to, I think the plan was is to review this during the budget deliberations for 2026 to see, we'll answer the questions regarding the 214 Gideon site, and then council can choose to either put the pickleball tennis courts at the 214 Gideon site or use the site over at 220 Huron Street as a future use. So council will still have the flexibility to decide where you want to put the courts. We'll give council all the information so you can make the best decision possible, but at least the site at 220 Huron will be ready for that development if required.
Good point. Thank you. Other members? All right. All right. Nothing. All right. Thank you very much then, Terry, and a good report. I look forward to seeing this work get completed. I think that I'm most interested honestly in the future of the site across the street here at 214 Gideon as to what that's going to look like and how and in fact, I'll just put it out there. I'm interested in the public reaching out and letting us know how they feel about this particular piece of property being a it's a commercial asset, and the fact that it's so close to our downtown. It is a potential wonderful parking asset, considering how busy our community is getting. It is. It could be used for a lot of things. So the drawing, while I mean it really does look great. I'm not 100% sold myself on whether that's a proper use for that. So I'd like to have more discussions with the public if they have anything. So I'll just put it out there. If there's anybody who wants to comment on it, please reach out to your counselors, and you can reach out to me to talk about what they feel about it. Because I feel unsure about it. So we may have to hold a brief public consultation on it just to get a real understanding, particularly from members of the business community, as to how it could impact the downtown core of our community here in Stayner. So that being said, I'm prepared to move this forward, but I'm not sure where we're going on the Gideon Street yet, and so I'll reserve my call on that later. Members of council, is there nothing further? Okay, we've got a mover and seconder. I am prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. All right. Terry, next time you have pickleball on, let's have a little match right here. All right, the Planning and Building Department. We've got a couple things on here, folks, for us to look at. PB 023, the draft plan of subdivision extension for Emerald Creek. That's something that's been worked on for a while. There are several appendixes to this, and I have a recommendation here in front of us. I'll read it, look for a mover and seconder. Let's see. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive a report PB 023-2025, the draft plan of subdivision extension for Emerald Creek dated July 28, 2025. And item 1, the council approve the extension of the Emerald Creek draft plan of subdivision being file number 2025-009 SD for an additional 5-year period, with the new lapse date being July 28, 2030. And that council approve the amendments to the existing draft plan conditions as outlined in Appendix E of the staff report, PB 023, and that notice be given in accordance with the Planning Act. Okay. Mr. Broderick's already left, so Mr. MacArthur, Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you. All right, so we've got a presentation. Hello. Sorry to keep you waiting. We've been meeting for a long time today.
That's okay.
All right, glad to have you here.
So this application is for a draft plan of subdivision extension for the Emerald Creek subdivision. The draft plan was originally submitted in 2005 and has been through several extensions and red lines since then. The site had several constraints with moving forward, including some environmental species at risk and the servicing availability within Stayner. Through this extension, staff have gone through the conditions and brought them up to standards that will generally be carried through for all draft plans moving forward. So the conditions look a little bit different. At this time, staff are satisfied that the 5-year extension will allow time for red line revisions proposed by Public Works staff and the availability for the servicing for the subdivision, and that it continues to represent good planning. After posting of the agenda, there was still a couple edits that we were looking to make, looking to remove condition 79, 105A, bullet point number 7. And then there was also a signing block at the very end that doesn't need to be there. And if council is okay with all these revisions, we can make those changes prior to the mayor and the clerk signing those. Myself, Roslyn, Patty, and Amanda from Jones Consulting for the applicant are here to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Paul, do you have a question, and any other members? And Mr. Walker, okay, go right ahead there, Deputy Mayor. Danielle awaits.
Danielle, I'm a little concerned, and we've talked a bit about this already, and not this particular application, but these extensions we're giving for 5 years. This development was started in 2005. I know now we have servicing constraints. We did not have them in 2005. So the question is this, given the extension, going to see the construction commence? Or is it going to be constrained and held back for another 5 years and another 5 years?
That's a great question. We'd like to see it move forward. I'm not sure if Jones has any comments, Amanda has any comments on it.
Sure, go ahead.
I'll briefly.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair to Deputy Mayor. In the beginning, the servicing was definitely not a constraint. As Danielle said, there were some environmental concerns that have happened throughout the years. And when we came back to council in 2022, that was the main concern that we were addressing is the environmental, which we came to a great conclusion with staff. We had a zoning bylaw amendment. However, since that time, there's now the water capacity issues. And so it's kind of created this perfect storm that now we're before council again. We do see that the water capacity and reservoir is also on the agenda today. So that does give our clients some hope that we definitely want to move this forward. There's no desire to keep this sitting. It's just the obstacles that we're working through.
All right, thank you.
No, Danielle.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, Danielle, come on up.
I just to finish my comments, Danielle, this application and future applications, we want the growth. We don't want to be sitting on applications where you guys have to review them every 5 years again. So you've heard my concerns, and given they'll need a bit of time to get their water, and sewers going, but we don't want to see this back again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Worship. My comment was very similar to the deputy mayor's with regards to timelines. We've been around sitting on some of these for years and years, and it's always another 5, another 5, another 5. I know water is an issue. Now, were there ever any sewer allotments or servicing is totally gone for this development, or are there wastewater allotments allowed for this property at present?
Hi, Rosalind.
Good evening, and through the mayor, I thought I would just step in as I've kind of been here a little bit longer than Danielle. And we won't say how many years, but I do have a bit of history on this one. So you are correct, Councillor Walker. There was a sewage allocation purchase. So we have had over the years some servicing constraints on this, including sewer. So we'll remember back when we actually did some sewer work with Wasaga Beach. And so this was a developer who did purchase allocation at that time.
Which leads me to another question. Then if there are sewer allotments that can't be utilized until such time, is there a possibility to purchase those back or allot those to other developers who do have water capacity as infilling or whatever at this time for within the next 5 years, so that when they do come forward in the 5 years, we will still be able to allow them that sewer allocation?
I might direct it to Dan, that question. I know there's a couple developers that are in this position, so anyway, I'll maybe.
Mr. Pro, can you help us resolve this?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councilor Walker. Our sewage allocation really isn't the constraint that our water is right now. So, sewage allocation for any of our projects are because of the agreement that we have with Wasaga Beach for 2,500 cubic meters of sewage allocated to go to Wasaga Beach. We haven't even started using that yet. So we're not as constrained as we are with the water. So, purchasing them back or returning them to the municipality doesn't seem to be as much of a need as if they were holding onto water units. That would be a whole different story. I just want to point out with this property as well is it's a fairly significant link to the west side of Stainer as far as its trunk sewage to the pump station or to the township's sewage treatment facilities over at the Public Works Yard. So at some point in time in the near future, that we'll be approaching this applicant to either construct that sewer, because it is it's a vital connection to the east through that property. Has been designated as such as part of our plan. So other things that we're looking at is making that connection as well. If a certain developer north of the arena, which is a bit closer, wants to connect and develop, that sewage connection will be needed.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, for bringing that up. I know that we can always count on you to bring that up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Are there other questions? Is there other questions? No? Okay. Well, then, thank you, Roz, and thank you, Danielle. All right. Sorry, we didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but thank you. Council, we do have a recommendation in front of us. I have a mover and seconder, and I am looking for any further questions or clarity. Nothing? Then I am prepared to call the motion. Those in favor, please. And thank you. That carries unanimous. All right. Proposed building law and fee schedule public meeting. This is the report from said meeting that was held only an hour ago. We do have two appendixes attached to this, which includes some building code regulations as well as some included schedules A through E. The recommendation is this: be it resolved that Council of the Township Clearview hereby receive report PB 024-2025, the proposed building bylaw and fee schedule public meeting dated July 28, 2025, and item 1, the council directs staff to present the updated building bylaw for approval at the August 11th, 2025 council meeting. Is there a mover and seconder on the floor? Deputy Mayor and Mr. Beelan, thank you. All right. Now, Scott, you've already given a great presentation. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Mr. McLeod?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I'm just available if there's any questions that pertain to this report.
Okay. Members of council, do you have any further questions that we didn't handle in the public meeting? Okay. I have no further questions either. Members of council, you have a motion in front of you with a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That also carries unanimous. Thank you. Very good. And we're going to go directly to the sign bylaw amendment. We've been asked to do a sign bylaw amendment in regards to McDonald's restaurant. And it's report PB 026-2025. There's appendixes A through F, which includes the actual bylaw for the amendment, which will be 2547. Recommendation be it to resolve that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PB 026-2025, the McDonald's bylaw sign bylaw amendment dated July 28, 2025. Bylaw 2547 to amend sign bylaw 2043 regarding the site-specific signage for the lands municipally known as 100 Grand Trunk Road be presented to council for approval at the July 28th, 2025 meeting. Mover and seconder. Thank you. And Mr. Walker and Mr. Beelan, thank you very much. Okay, any questions? Nice to see you up here, Colin. Any questions? Colin, do you have anything you want to add to the report?
No, this is a site-specific amendment to permit
It is site-specific, yeah.
Yes, and we had the public meeting on June 25th, and we received no further comments from either agencies or the public between that public meeting and today. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? No, I do. Did the people from McDonald's agree to call it Clearview McDonald's?
They did not reach out to me about that matter.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Members of council, we've got a motion in front of you. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, Colin. All right, moving on our agenda. Designated and other Planning Act approval summary. the delegated approvals background. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PB 027-2025, delegated and another planning act approval summary, July 25th, 2025, dated July 28th, 2025, for information. Okay. What were we looking at? The Deputy Mayor, Mr. Broderick, thank you. Anything you want to add to that? No?
No, but I'm again here for questions.
Thank you very much. Members of council, do you have any questions to the Delegated Authority and Planning Act approval summary? No, seeing none? All right, thank you again. And members of council, you've got a motion in front of you. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimously. All right, thank you very much. Now moving over to our Public Works Department. This is something I've been waiting for a while. I know I've been a little antsy about this, to be quite honest, since I became the mayor. So I'm very happy to see that this has been finally brought to our council meeting. And so I consider this to be a pretty significant date for this to happen, as well as the fact that if council moves forward on these projects, these two award, this will be the single most expensive project that this township has ever done. Just so you know. All right, report. PW 013, the Klondike Park Road Water Main Tender Award, Appendix A is the RJ Burnside recommendation letter. Recommendation, be it resolved that the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PW 013-2025, Klondike Park Road Water Main, dated July 28, 2025. Item 1, that council award the tender for the Klondike Park Road Water Main to Arnett Construction Limited in the amount of $17,945,756, zero excluding HST. Deputy Mayor, would you move that? Thank you. And Mr. Broderick will be the seconder. Thank you very much. Dan, do you want to speak to this or both of them at the same time?
Thank you, Your Worship.
To this one? Go ahead. Sure.
Yeah, and yeah, I might as well speak to them both at the same time.
Sure.
Just first of all, I just want to acknowledge former director Mike Ron on this project, because I think without him, this project probably wouldn't be to where it is even today. So believe he started it way back in, Jeff, 2017, maybe before that. So I want to acknowledge him. I just also want to acknowledge my staff on working on this project as well. It's been a long time. Other township staff, Kelly and the finance department, clerks, and also want to acknowledge RJ Burnside and Jeff and his staff on the work that they've done on both projects. So I think it's a good news story. I think we're at a point here now where there's a bit more light at the end of the tunnel. Getting these projects underway, it's taken a long time. So it's going to be interesting, fun. I think the work is just starting now. It's hopefully going to be completed within the next 24 months. That's the plan. So we're here in the fall of 2027, hoping the mayor can turn on the water tap. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Members of council, do you have any questions to any of our staff, including our representatives from RJ Burnside? Or here, yes, Mr. MacArthur, you'd be up first.
Yeah, just on this first one on the water main tender, I'm just glad to see it's a reputable local company that we possibly going to award the contract to here. So that's more of a good news story.
I agree. Thank you very much. Would you come forward? Actually, I just want to ask a quick question about the process that we went through. I know Dan was a big part of this, but I know that Burnside was a big help in this too, Jeff. And so, you know, his comment is fair as a counselor to say that it's a reputable company, but we did a pre-qualification process here. So could you just take a minute, Jeff, and just outline, you know, why the pre-qualification was really important for us to do this project right?
Thank you, Your Worship. Certainly, I'd be happy to clarify that. So for both of the tenders that were recently issued, In advance, we issued 2 separate pre-qualification documents, so that was available on a public forum for any interested contractor to submit their qualifications and experience in these types of projects. And Burnside reviewed that information as well. That information was provided to the township for review, and we selected a subset, the people that showed interest that we felt were the most qualified and the most experienced to undertake these projects. I think there was 5 for each, the water main project and the reservoir project. And then those firms were invited to bid on the actual project. It was one of 5 that qualified. Certainly some other very worthy and capable competition for the project. Very nice to have a local category.
All right. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Go, follow-up question of Mr.
Yeah, just a
McCracken.
follow-up question then. We didn't get all 5 bidding on both. So is there any real reason or?
Other than saying it's the supply and demand kind of market, I know there was a lot of, particularly on the reservoir contract, there was a lot of other work available for those contractors in the same time frame that was leading up to ours. That said, any one of them is very capable, and the idea is to get a quote a good contractor that will result in a more successful outcome. So.
Right on. Thank you very much for that. You have a question, Paul?
Just a little comment both to Dan and to Jeff. When you've got pre-qualified bidders and you see how close the contracts were, one contract was $55,000 apart and the other one was $28,000 apart. That's sharp bidding, and you know that they're on the money, or at least they're competitive, and they should be good with it. So
yeah,
I like it when I see that. So
very much. I think on the larger contract, they were all within 10%, and
yes,
razor tight on low and second low. And then there was a good cluster at the low end. Right, there were 2 or 3 that were pretty tight together, and one guy that was. Thank you.
Thank you. Good comment. I appreciate that. Other members, any questions? All right. Thank you very much to the work that's gone in to prepare this. Again, we have 2 things to vote on here, but just to wrap this up, we're very glad that we had a good process to work between our professionals here at our office, the professionals at Burnside, obviously guided by our CAO, who is very much involved in building this whole process. I also want to mention too our legal department, who reviewed a lot of this. We have a lot of lawyers who have consulted on this as well, so we're glad that this is all working out very well. And lastly, I want to mention, of course, the work that went in by our local MPP, Mr. Brian Saunderson, who was able to help convince the folks at Infrastructure Ontario to support us on this. And so I'm happy to report that we're, as it stated earlier, it's up to $35 million, and so we'll work that out. Members of council, there's nothing further on first item, which is PW 013. You've got a mover and seconder and a motion in front of you. I am prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. PW 014, which will be the well site, reservoir, and pump house award. This one is, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PW 014 2025, the Klondike Park Road Well Site Tender Award dated July 28, 2025. Item 1, that council award the tender for the Klondike Park Road Well Site Reservoir and Pumping House submitted by Maple Rinders Constructors Limited in the amount of $29,478,225.00 and excluding HST. Mr. Walker. Sorry, $29,478,255.00. Did I say the wrong number earlier? Nevertheless, Mr. Walker, I'm asking you to move that. Thank you very much. Mr. Broderick, would you like to second that? Thank you very much. All right. Anything you want to add on the reservoir site work that's gone on there, Dan? Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, nothing further, Your Worship. Again, similar pre-qualified contractors that were invited this time around. Instead of the 4 bidders that we received for the water main, we received 3 back, which again, we're were extremely, the three that were submitted were extremely close
Yeah.
in value as well.
Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to this. Obviously, work's going to start out there very soon. The site will have to obviously have significant work done to it right away. Probably electrical will be one of the things that'll come in as quickly as possible, as they can get some hydro in there and get some work done. So that's great. Looking forward to it. Members of council, is there any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion in front of us. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That also carries unanimous. Well done. Okay, council will move quickly to our legislative services. Huronia West OPP Detachment Board. It's the annual report. So recommendation be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report LS 015-2025 Huronia West OPP Detachment Board 2024 annual report dated July 28, 2025 for information. Madam Clerk, do you want to add anything to this, or would you like me to comment on it? All I can tell you is that we're just glad that we got the detachment board together. And so the report is kind of thin, but that's okay. We just got it together in 2024. And so the report says that we now have a board. That's basically what it says. That's pretty much what it says. Marty, did you agree with that? You're a good member on that board, but it's going to be a good season coming up for 2025 report. We've already had a lot of things go on, so it'll be a better report for 2025. Mr. Beelan, would you like to move that? Thank you. Very good. Mr. MacArthur, thank you. And is there any questions? All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much, team. Where are we here? We got a couple of bylaws here. Here's the Clearview McDonald's bylaw. It's the amending bylaw for 24-03. Recommendation be it resolved. Bylaw 2547 being a bylaw to amend signed bylaw 2043 for a portion of the lands municipally known as 100 Grand Trunk Road, Township of Clearview, and legally described as Plan 51M 1250. Again, I don't know what BLK stands for. Block, simple. Why don't we just say block instead of BLK? 121, formerly Nottawasaga, now Township of Clearview, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed 28th day of July, 2025. Thank you, Mr. Broderick. Mr. Deputy Mayor, any questions on the bylaw? All those in favor? That bylaw carries unanimous. Council, we're at item 12, which is notice of motion, new business. Any new business or anything? Seeing none? Confirmatory bylaw, which is recommendation be it resolved. Bylaw 2548 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the July 28, 2025 council meeting be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 28th day of July, 2025. Mr. Broderick, Mr. MacArthur, thank you very much. All those in favor? And the confirmatory bylaw carries. And looking at the clock, we're at about 8:27-ish. So we'll say that the motion to adjourn be it resolved, the council will adjourn at 8:27. We'll consider that moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Broderick. All those in favor? That's right. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody. Enjoy the cool weather.